What's cracking, people? How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. I'm starting to actually dislike this a little bit, if I'm entirely honest. But I hope you're doing the things that you love, those you love to do them with. Do me a favor, guys, straight out of the bat, smash the like button, smash the subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell, drop some comments, keep them thick and fast. Because I got to be honest, I wanted to go solo tonight. I felt like I wanted to chat with you lot because I don't know what's going on. I'm at the point where it's disrespectful. It's slightly getting towards the realms of like piss take behavior from the football club. Did a video earlier, put together a cheeky little conspiracy theory. Might go over a little bit of that. I put out a poll just now saying, what's the reason in your opinion, right? Because there's only one of four things. Like, it can only be one of four things. Really, in my opinion. It can only be one of four things. Possibly five, but there wasn't a fifth option. One, there's something going on in the boardroom. Power struggle. You know, coup-ish, that kind of thing. Two, takeover that's shenanigans are afoot within who's doing what, who's getting what, that sort of stuff. Three, nothing to see here. Everyone's just on their hollypops, which if that's the case, if it's innocent, then it's even more of an embarrassment. I'd actually rather there be boardroom struggles because at least that would explain the absolute abject ineptitude that to some degree is being demonstrated right now. I'm not talking about transfer news, right? I understand that not everyone does business. No one's signing anyone yet. You know, of all of the news, views, and clues that we've gone through, you know, I bring that stuff to our attention every day. But, you know, 99% of it is all made up by the various journalists or, you know, they're just leaning into whatever they're told. Everyone's got to make money doing what they do. So I don't care about the lack of a transfer. Because ultimately we've seen 1,000 stories going through about this one's done, that one's done with other clubs. But really, in reality, the only deal that's actually done is Frimpong. Everything else, you know, hasn't been completed yet. So, at least in the Premier League, I think. You know, Cunha's not official done. I mean, it is, but it's not really. Mbeumo's not done. Until it's signed, until they hold up the shirt, there's always a chance, right? Fabrizio Romano's got loads of the here he goes done wrong in the past. So I'm not worried about the lack of transfer activity, so to speak. I'm not worried about that. But I think that the lack of acknowledgement of what is happening at the football club, the fact that our manager is on holiday but is not going to have switched off, right? He's not going to have to be doing this. La, 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 la. See no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, all that, hear no evil. All that yardy, you know, nonsense. I just don't get it. I do not understand what could possibly be, you know, stopping someone from coming out with some clarification either way. Like, you don't need to have a new manager in place if you want to sack someone. If there's talks happening, then, you know, I think that there should be some sort of clarification. Like, there should be something that's imminent. But the fact is that every day a journalist is coming out saying he's gone, he's maybe staying 5%, it's less than that, it's 50-50, it's on a knife edge. And then you get, oh, the club haven't made their mind up yet, but they're going to make their mind up tomorrow or by the end of the week. They're going to make their mind up by the end of the week. What are we doing here? Is this a crash? Like, are we? Is it like a babysitter? You know, have we got a babysitter in charge? And the parents are phoning home saying, is it all right if you maybe stay for a couple of hours? We might have a couple more drinks. We're just not sure yet. Yeah, okay. I mean, what the fuck is going on? We just won the Europa League. Big boy stuff. Wind is in the sails of the football club. Everyone, I mean, there's no such thing as a united fan base, right? No chance, not with Tottenham. So there's always going to be divisive stories about who's right, who's wrong, because expectations are up here for the football club. And, you know, this manager particularly couldn't be more split down the middle depending on what you think is important. You know, is 22 losses a big deal? No, it's all about Europa League. Actually, yeah, it is. Oh, you're a dick. No, you're a dick. Like, this fan base will never be united. But for once, you could all kind of get on the board, the direction of travel, if the club just handled this moment with a little bit more pedigree. a little bit more, I don't know, act as if you're a £4 billion company. How you doing, guys? We're gonna chat our way through this. You know, 500 people here already. Hello, Sim. It must be you. Do you know what? I actually think that I am not far away from where I'm at. You know, I'm like the sort of proverbial protractor, right? I like to come at things from every angle, figure out where I land, and when you go through the kind of the mental gymnastics of trying to see everything from every angle and then figure out where to land, invariably you never really land on a strong conviction call because you can always see a little bit of the angle here and there and everywhere. Call me Mr. 360. But I feel like right now I'm embarrassed. I'm very embarrassed to be like a fan of a club that can go from the stratospheric high of two Wednesdays ago to now not knowing what the fuck's going on with this football club. And like I say, it's not about the transfers. The transfers, I get it. Like I'm not impatient about that. I mean, I am impatient about that stuff, but like I also understand that there's a window, there's a second window, there's the Club World Cup. You know, there's a lot of things that have to happen, right, to get yourself into the world of like transfers. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I have a fucking huge problem with the fact that journalists that are like they're in the inner circle with the football club. The football club feed them fucking stories. How about you feed them a fucking story now, but don't feed them we're going to make our mind up on Thursday or fucking Friday, 2.5 weeks after we won a cup. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Like, I think it's absolutely atrocious behaviour. It's disrespectful to Ange. It's disrespectful to the players. It's disrespectful to us. I just feel like it's shit. It's really shit. Really is. So I think you can see by my thumbnail, I didn't come quite as far to say it, but it's fucking making me lean that way. It's making me lean that way. It really is. It really is. How are you all surprised after 20 years with these owners? You never learned. Well, let's carry on. ENIC has woken up and are getting involved in the running of the club for the first time. They, after all, own it, and Levy works for them. 100%, mate. Listen, I don't know anything about this Vivian Lewis woman. You know, if it's legit, and people keep telling me that she cares about the football club, that she doesn't like Daniel Levy, and she wants the club to be run better or more with more ambition. Okay, then if you're in charge of the trust, or if you're one of the trustees, what's stopping you putting money into the club? Right. You want the club to be more ambitious, but I'm not going to put my hand in my pocket. No, I just want us to do better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting here saying that Daniel Levy's the bad guy or the good guy, and that Joe Lewis's daughter's the good girl or the bad girl. Like, I think the whole fucking thing is a shit show, to be entirely honest. I think the whole fucking thing is a shit show. Best thing that could happen at this stage is if there is takeover talk, if it is legit, and that this geezer Charrington comes in and is there to make sure that Daniel Levy doesn't piss on any barbecue, and that someone comes in with ambition, and then Daniel Levy just gets taken away. His mandate gets removed. His mandate gets changed. We'll talk about all that stuff in a minute. Let me say to some people. Matthew Childers, new member. What's happening, Matthew? Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're okay. Thank you for your membership. I appreciate you, mate. Thomas the Frank engine arriving in 5 days. I mean, I don't know about him. I don't even know. I almost feel like if that's what we're waiting for, that's almost pissing me off as well, as just as much. If I'm entirely honest, like, the only way that this wait is worth it is because they don't want to announce his sacking and then have to go 60 days not knowing, and then kicking the can and then figuring it out, and then having like an open fucking interview session over the summer where you can't do anything. And so maybe they're having interviews with people now to firm up the interest, to figure out what's going on. All of that stuff's done under NDAs and all that bollocks. And then Ange goes, someone else comes in. But if all of this delay, first and foremost, it's a fucking disgrace that they couldn't have figured this shit out earlier. Like, tapping up is a thing for a fucking reason. You don't have to make it like public, but you can have a conversation with agents saying, hey, listen, we're thinking about going in a new direction. Any chance your boy might be interested? You know, like they do with players. It's par for the course with players. Why do we have to wait until the season finishes to even start the conversation? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't for a fucking second believe that the reason for this delay is because the club hadn't thought about what they were going to do until after the cup final. Like they're just distracted by building yachts or whatever. It just doesn't add up. I don't care how stupid these people might be to some of you. They're not idiots. So I really just don't think it adds up to me. Doesn't add up. Doesn't add up. Nick, good to see you. Cameron, good to see you. Who says who? Is that official? What's Cameron said? Oh, Thomas Tank Engines are driving. Hey, Sean. Did you have to put that man's face on the picture? I went out of my way to edit the photo to make all of his lines look a little bit more, you know. We got some transfer news, views, and clues for you as well, guys. We got some stories that I want to go through. I'm probably going to be going for a couple of hours, so lock yourself in, go and get yourself a cup of tea, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of things over the next couple of hours. I'm going to be here for a while, I think. So I'm going to bring up your chats along the way. Please do smash your like button. By the way, guys, there is the link for Football Inc. That's pinned in the chat. I hope it's pinned in the chat. And that's our second channel. It's Johnny and my second channel where we do a live stream every day for an hour around lunchtime or 3 o'clock, and we talk about what else is happening in football, because ultimately right now that's actually more interesting. Did you see the news about Inter Milan? Did you see the news about Inter Milan? Fuck me. Calcio Mercato released a report that came from a finance company in England who was employed to audit Inter Milan's books from like a few years ago on behalf of a potential takeover. Turns out that they've been like defrauding the accounts, like completely making up fictitious fucking Asian contracts, sponsorship deals to the tune of 350 million euros or some bollocks. And not only that, but the Italian FA, the equivalent of the Italian FA, they knew about it and were trying to hide it. If it's true, and it's like it's coming out bit by bit, there's more and more stories breaking on it. If it's as big as it sounds, it's the biggest scandal like in fucking 30 years in Italian football, and they've had a fair few scandals. We've had a few. It's absolute mind-boggling. On top of that, you got Barcelona with FFP issues. Like the fourth or fifth time they're gonna have breached their covenants with FFP, or whatever you call it. They're like basically just lying about where to place certain items on their account, so that some of it gets chalked off against FFP, whereas it shouldn't. Third or fourth offence. The first couple of times they only got €500,000 fine. Outrageous. One rule for the big clubs, another for everyone else. Let's get a couple of super chats. Wowzers, there's a few waiting. So Matthew Childers, new member. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, mate. Blaine TV, how you doing? Sorry, Blaine Super Spurs TV. Thanks, buddy. How you doing, boss? Sean, you've been pumping that much content. I reckon you need a good blowing. Well, no, she never texts me back, mate. She never texts me back. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Thanks for the loyalty, buddy. Eric Morford, it's all part of Levy's master plan. Hashtag my chairman. Yeah. I think he's going to be my non-exec director very soon if Charrington has his way. Appreciate you, Eric. Super First TV again. Blaine, where's the Moley when you need him? Yeah, but exactly. That's true. All season we've had a mole. I think when Serge Reguilon left, he took his mole with him. Oh, Jesus Christ. What are we doing here? Cheers, Blaine. Alex Gonzalez, thanks for the daily updates, brother. Keep up the good work, mate. What a lovely, generous donation. Thank you, man. It's a lovely car as well. What is that? Is that a Cadillac? Looks like it. Love that grill. Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've got nothing, nothing else on my mind other than talking waffle for, a few hours a day right now. So, expect more of it. as long as the shenanigans with my hacking stuff doesn't frequent me or prevent me rather, then I'll be here. I'll be here talking bollocks till the cows come home. Appreciate you, Alex. Thank you so much, man. Very nice of you. And Moose City's in the house as well. Thank you, Moose. How you doing, buddy? I have a real feeling it's a boardroom shake-up and or takeover, and I think they will now sack Ange and put in their own manager. That's another problem. This is the thing, right? Like the kind of, what are the connotations of something being close in that world? You know, what are they? Well, like, do they want to come in and put their own manager in? Well, if so, then you're not going to bring in someone now. Then you might as well just let Ange stay. And if that's the case, then fucking come out and tell us. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know what we're getting on with here. Everybody else is making moves. Like, I don't know. Is there any chance that Leroy Sané turned us down? Again, let's presume that there was some truth to the story in the first place. Is there any, and that it's also true that he sees no interest. Let's assume that the story was true. We spoke someone at Tottenham, like someone at Tottenham. It's not Paratici. He hasn't started yet. Vinny hadn't started. Daniel Levy was on holiday. Ange is on holiday. At what point did the Sané story begin? If it's true, then we got together. Someone somewhere got together to decide on that, right? Is it Scott Munn and Johan Lang? Are they really going around like organizing deals when they don't even know if their future is legit, safe, secure? I mean, you wouldn't want them touching any of your details if you intend to sack them and they know that that's a likely thing. If they know that that's a likely outcome, you wouldn't want Scott Munn or Johan Lang. I mean, I've heard that Johan Lang might be staying, so let's say it's Scott Munn. If the intention is to get rid of Scott Munn when Vinny comes in, you wouldn't want him anywhere near any phone calls, any files. Like, you wouldn't want him there. And if he's aware of that, you especially so wouldn't. So who the fuck was organising the Leroy Sané deal? And then he's like, we offer him a deal. He wants to come to London. He wants to he wants to come back to the Premier League, live in London. His family's in London. Arsenal don't want him. Chelsea don't need him. Tottenham are the only other team that could possibly afford him. And he's like, nah, not interested. I wonder why. Probably two reasons. One, he doesn't have a fucking clue who his manager's going to be, because none of us do. And two, I mean, maybe finishing 17th does have an impact. As I said in my video, this afternoon's video I put out, right? Like, people saying, oh, let's just, a cup's all that matters. Let's just focus on cups. Two problems with that. You don't win cups every season. No one does. No one does. Even the most successful teams fail more times than they succeed if the barometer of success is a season with a trophy. And every other team that's less successful than them fails more times than 60% of the seasons that they participate in. Right? So if the new mantra is fuck the league, focus on trophies, well, you're still going to be miserable more often than you're not, even if you become the most successful team at trophies in cup competitions. So that ain't really a theory that you go by. But on top of that, I don't know. Part of me thinks that players are going to look at the league form and go, what's it going to be like for 8 months of the year at this club? Oh, we lose 70% of the time, do we? Okay, yeah. No, I'm all right, thanks. I'd rather go to Saudi. It's fucking madness. It's mental. So anyone that's saying fuck the league off, so like, have a think about what that actually means. Have a think about what it means. I mean, I'll tolerate it once. Thank you for the super chat, Moose. Thank you for the super chat, Alex. Thank you also, Blaine and Eric. And thanks for the membership, Matthew. Let's get back to let me see if I can get my Twitter up. Let's have a look what's going on Twitter, shall we? So I've and that's what I need. Oh, I've got messages. People must think I'm about to say I'm leaving out. So here's an interesting one, right? Is it on the board here? It's on the screen. Okay. I'm gonna come back to the chat in a minute. I've seen this all day long. Right. Let me get the tweet first. Players don't want to come to Tottenham. This is why. We don't pay the wages that other clubs will. Instead, we sign kids on low wages and hope they will turn out well. This is from Jay. I think is that the Jay that's the part of the change for Tottenham. So that is true, right? It's true. Only 5 players. This is obviously I don't know if this might not include bonuses and things, but ultimately, I think that West Ham United have got more people on over 100 grand a week. But that might be the reason why players previously have chosen to go elsewhere. But right now, I think that if we were in the conversation of having Leroy Sané, well, actually, you know what? Maybe that Leroy Sané has no interest in joining Tottenham. Maybe it's because the offer for him to come was 100 grand a week. It's not that he has no interest in playing for Tottenham, it's that he has no interest in taking the offer that was presented to him. I mean, look, this is pretty poor. This is fucking bad. But at the same time, we have swung into, a youth-centric approach. So, would you be on board the idea of giving any of these people, from Dominic Solanke down, do you think any of these people deserve more than 100 grand a year, apart from Micky van der Ven, who clearly is going to get it very soon? I mean, Lucas Berghvall's already signed a new contract, so this is old information. Most people don't even like Dominic Solanke. I'm a big fan of Dominic Solanke's, but I think that the wages that we paid these people is probably right, apart from Timo Werner. I don't think we should be paying these people that much more. But I hear the point that this guy's making that that we don't pay the right wages for players. But I think that's, as I say, that should hopefully change, or if we can get through whatever the fuck is going on right now. Carl Madden is saying, "Say it, Sean, Levy out." I mean, listen. We'll wait. I want to wait and see what happens. I think I'm at the point, right, where I think I'm going to go fucking apoplectic. If I don't hear something by the end of the week, like if there's not clarity on what the fuck's going on, then you might actually hear me say it. Not that it really matters what I think. Like, I don't know why so many people want me to say it. You sick bastards. But yeah, I mean, I just don't. I've got another Tony Rodriguez is a new member. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you, mate. I think that's I'd say a renewed membership, isn't it? I appreciate it, mate. Thanks for coming back. Where we get up to? Where are we up to here? Let's have a look. See, Levy out. Coy's Norway. Good to see you, Windrider. Lewis family want their return on investment. Levy blocking sales. He wants to stay forever, taking his millions each year. Well, this is the point, Ginola, right? This is the point I was making in my video this morning. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out after I'm done. But I think that there is a conspiracy. I think it's plausible. I mean, I'm 100% speculating. I'm not an ITK. So never take anything that I ever say to you. Anything I ever say to you is either based on, it's usually based on some sort of news reports, and then my inference from there, right? Like I don't make things up, but I draw on things, and that's it. Nick Collison coming in with the flip flop. Sean's doing it again. Shut up, Nick. Shut up, Barry. What was I going to say? Yeah. So this Lewis thing, right? So I don't think she's the savior. You see all these people saying, "Oh, she wants better for Tottenham." Then put your fucking hand in your pocket, girl. Put your hand in your fucking pocket. You've got 5 billion between your family or whatever it is. It wouldn't take that much to I don't know. Stick some more money in. Dilute the other shareholders at a decent valuation, like you did 3 years ago, when you promised us 150 million, and then you actually only took, not you, but Levy and Joe only did 100. But she ain't the savior either. So let's not mix this up here. Just because she doesn't like Daniel doesn't mean that she's got ambitions. Okay, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. Where did I get to? Let me shoot forward. It's out of our control. One good thing I find is normally true. No news is good news. Sean, check Chris Cowlin tweet. Okay, all right then. Let's have a look. What's he done? At the moment, Ange's on holiday in Greece with his family. If Spurs decide they'll go, if I'm already pissed off. I'm already pissed off. If Spurs decide they're going to stick with him, they don't have to announce anything. He's their manager. What are they going to say? Okay, well, that's fine. I've been saying that for a week, right? I did a video on it saying, like, you don't have to come out and, like, clarify that he's... But actually, I think in this scenario, you do. Because Fabrizio Romano's been talking about it. Matt Law's been talking about it. Graham Bailey's been talking about it. Ben Jacobs has been talking about it. Sky Sports has been talking about it. This person is fucking from Sky Sports. Cava Solicol, whoever that is. Like, sorry, if you are all speculating and you are driving up the narrative... then out of respect to the fans and to the manager and to the man and to Bugsy Malone and to all of you, like, there needs to be a clarification. He's our guy. Like, just be putting out a blanket statement here. We've noted recent speculation around the uncertainty on our manager and our Europa League winning manager's job. He is our guy. Thank you. Coys, Daniel. Fucking simple. It's very simple. The people that are writing these headlines are the same people that get fed the stories by the club when it suits them. So, sorry, Cava Solicol, whoever you are. It's a cool name, for sure. But yeah, I don't buy it. I was okay with the concept last week because there wasn't that sort of, like, wild thing. But now it's an everyday thing. The club can't be deaf. They are tone deaf on this. They are tone fucking deaf. But more importantly, this is the thing here. That's the key word, right? If. Is my screen... I haven't even got the screen up. I'm sorry. I'm talking to myself. Sorry, guys. I'm talking to myself. I thought I had the screen up. The key word here is if, right? If Spurs decide they are going to stick with him. Why haven't they fucking figured that out yet? Why haven't they figured it out? It's June the 4th. The final was May the 23rd. Was it 23rd? 22nd? 22nd. 2 weeks ago. And you didn't even need to wait until the final, by the way, to know what you wanted to do because there was only two fucking outcomes. We won or we lost. That was it. It's not like, well, depending what happens on Wednesday, there could be 700 different, connotations, and probably it's too much to have contingency plans. No, you've got a folder with plan A and a folder with plan B. It's absolutely shameful, in my opinion. 21st, was it? Yeah. Okay. Unacceptable, Sean. 100%. Like I say, guys, I just think if there's not clarification by Sunday, then you probably are going to hear me say something mental. Because I need to know what I'm too curious to know why it is. By the way, have you seen this video? I think this is the best video that I've ever seen them do. I think their social media is generally shit, but I think this one. Let me see if I can put it up. Can you hear? I'm still not showing you again, am I? This video with all the different, right? Class. It really is class. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it. It's like loads of the different global Spurs communities all going mental when we won. How about have some respect for those people? Let us know what the fuck is going on. Honestly, it's embarrassing. You don't have to be Levy out to know that we're an absolute shithole. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Let's find out what else I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, this one. As if this didn't wind me up enough. As if I'm not already angry. I gave up Thatcher's last week. I had a week without the sugar, or without this particular type of sugar. Today's put me back on the Katie's. What are we doing here? This fucking thing gets sent to me. Tottenham are about to sign. This is some geezer from Brazilian football, right? He's into Flamengo. Is my screen up? Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's from Flamengo, and he's saying that Flamengo are really happy because they're expecting Rodrigo. Rodrigo. Is it Rodrigo Muniz? It is Rodrigo Muniz. He's going to leave Fulham and go to Tottenham, and in so doing, Flamengo get a slice of the sell-on fee, and so they don't have to 95 million, whatever their is it Rias? What's their currency called? Real, I think it's called. So this was enough to make me almost vomit this morning. This bozo. Don't get me wrong, he's all right. but he's not even better than Richalison. Not even better than Richalison. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I said this is almost as bad as the Dominic Calvert-Lewin links. Levy out is calling my name. Fucking joke, mate. It's an absolute joke. Where's the next link on where's the next story? What else have I got? Oh, here we go again. Yeah, Sky Sports. This is from last word on Spurs. Whether Ange Postecoglou will continue as Tottenham Hotspur manager or be sacked is expected to be decided this week. I need to find out what we doing with this. What's this poll looking like? What's this poll doing? Okay, so here we go. What's the reason for the silence? 21% reckon there's boardroom conflict from 600 odd votes. Does anybody else hate these car finance claims adverts? I get sent them all the time. I don't have a car that's on finance, and yet somehow they personalize these ads to me, so send them to me like 1,000 times a day. Pisses me right off as well. Another thing that pisses me off today. I'm angry. I'm an angry boy. Boardroom conflict, 21%. Typically shit Tottenham is 50%. 17% says takeover possible. 13% says all fine post-season holiday. Michael from Poland wants to join. 100% you can come on, mate. You're a logical guy. This is just for Michael, guys, right? Anyone else joins isn't coming on. Okay? I might open it up a little bit later on to other people, but just for now, this is just for Michael. There you go, Michael. I need some logic, mate. I need some logic injected into me. Make me calm down, because Bugsy Malone was looking at me earlier and I almost kicked her across the room. Swear to God. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I would never do that. Hi, Michael. How you doing, buddy?
In personal life, okay. I'm pissed right off with the club, just like you. Listen, we will get into it. I bet, but I am so pissed with what's going on in the last 2 weeks.
Same, mate. Like, honest to God, like I'm left to when I don't have clarity, I'm left to speculate. And when I speculate, I end up coming up with conspiracies and things. And I was putting it together, and I'm like, well, let's start with this, right? So back in December, there was the kind of unclear information around what was the share issue. Was it 35 million? Was it 30? Was it 15? There was a bunch of different news articles, no clarity on it. I think it ended up being 35 million quid. Then you have the Amanda Staveley, the NDAs that they had to sign, right? Then you have a QSI are back involved. Then you had all the rumours about Daniel Levy cop blocking it. Then you hear Charrington comes in March. Then in April it's Vinny. Then you win the cup. Then there's no clarity. Then Donna Cullen leaves, but then you find out that Donna Cullen was meant to leave anyway, but she was meant to leave a year ago, but no one knows why she ended up staying for a year. To me, I'm thinking Daniel Levy's right-hand woman, right? Maybe Charrington's not here. Maybe Charrington's here to keep an eye on him, make sure that the next time that QSI pick up the phone that he doesn't cop block it because he wants an extra 5 million, because Vivian Lewis hasn't got any penny out. She hasn't got a penny out of this, out of owning Tottenham. Neither has Joe Lewis. It's all paper profits. Whereas Daniel Levy's walked away with 65 million quid so far. And he wants to carry on getting his slice. What's your thoughts?
Listen, for me, the worst part about what's happening right now, and you mentioned it already, right? It's the lack of clarity. Like I find myself not necessarily flip-flopping in terms of Ange, right? But I've said it already that I personally would sack him, but I understand if the club keep him, right? But that's not a good state to be in as a fan, because on one hand you are like, I don't really want the manager here, but he kind of deserves to stay based on the Europa League. But then again, I am not for giving him 10 games of first season and then sacking him after that, because that's the most stupid thing you can do. Like at that point, if they keep him, I would like him to stay for a year, just so we can change him next summer, right? But isn't that just kicking the can down the road, right? It's just a stupid approach. So I am at the point where no matter the decision, I just want clarity. I just want a decision. no matter what that decision is, right? Because this like limbo that we are doing right now, just fun twiddling and all that stuff, it's the worst thing that can happen, right? Like Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, they are in the process of signing their third player, and we are basically doing nothing at this point, right? We as a fan base, we are left, we are left to die or to kill each other, basically, right? Over whether we are Anchi or out, or Livy in or Livy out, or this and that, right? We are just fighting with each other right now because we don't know what's going on, and the club is just like, I don't know, it's just reeks of unprofessionalism, or not necessarily. Listen, I believe that there is something happening behind the closed doors that we obviously won't know about until it sees the light, right? Until they want to tell us, right? But that silence is killing us as a fan base, right? So
it's deafening though as well, right?
Yeah, it's deafening. They have to make a decision soon, because if they don't, it's just going to get worse and worse. Not only in terms of like the future of the footballing side, but just for the club itself and the fan base itself, right? It's just killing me inside watching this club like doing the things it does right now, because I foolishly assumed that if we win the Europa League, we are actually going to
kick on.
Listen, I didn't expect us to start signing like Lamine Yamal and all that stuff, right? Obviously not. Like, I'm a logical person. I know what this club can achieve and what this club can do, but I expected at least something, right? At least give me a Leroy Sané. At least give me, like, I don't know, a center defensive mid, just one signing. But then again, I understand why they are not doing any signings if they don't know whether they will keep the manager or not, right? But then decide on the fucking manager, because it's 3 weeks after the final, right? Close to 2 or 3 weeks, right? After the final, and you still don't know whether you keep him or not, right? You mentioned it, right? They should know whether they are keeping him or not before the final happened, right?
Yeah.
They should have everything planned, right? If he loses, obviously we sack him, right? If he wins, then they make the decision, right? But the decision should be made before the final even happened, right? They should have it planned out, so that when the final happens, right? Yeah.
Even if they wanted to wait and see the reaction. By the way, hi Dietrich. By the way, this is maybe one of several flip flops that I'm going to do, because obviously I'm leaning towards Levy out. So if you become Levy out, then you have to be a flip flop. So I said that only Michael's coming on, but I've now said that Dietrich can come on. So if other people want to join as well, then just let me know.
First of all,
figure out. Good to see you, Dietrich. Welcome
first of all, good evening, everyone. Hope you beautiful people are doing well.
How you doing, buddy?
Hearing Sean saying he's sick and tired. I'm holding a flip-flop, but I don't have my camera on. But I'm holding a flip-flop, by the way.
Yeah, man. I just feel like, for me, even if the reason for the delay was, the reaction at the parade was just like, it took them all by surprise, and they went, oh shit, the fan base maybe they care more, and they now are falling back in love. I mean, maybe we got to take a pause. That was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 fucking weeks. The parade was 12 days ago, right? And like, even if that took them by surprise, it's every second that passes is a second less that we have to do what we need to do. So there's absolutely no fucking excuse for why this is taking the time it is, unless there is things happening above. And I think that's the only way.
Can I give an example? Oh, first of all, is my mic good? Just to make sure.
Your mic's fine, mate. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just want to give this example for. Look at Man City. They just spent so much money, and they don't even know if Pep Guardiola is going to be there long term. After his contract expires in 2 years? In a year, in about 2 years, almost. But they're still buying the right players. We don't need to know who's the manager. We just need to buy the right players, the right profile, someone that can actually just be good at any system. Look at Romero. Look at, for example, Harry Kane, Son. They can fit any system, any style. It doesn't matter. Just buy quality.
Yeah. No, I hear you, mate. There's some positions. I think I said this. I might have said this yesterday or the day before. I was like, I don't want to hear anything at all to do with like profiling players based on club priorities when it comes to areas of the pitch and the squad that we are currently weak in. like if we're looking for a new fullback, then I'll tolerate the fact that we already have 3 good ones. I'll tolerate if the club say we need a homegrown or we need a club trained or we need a player or whatever, like because that's their profile. I'll tolerate it. I'll even tolerate it if that's what they want to do with a left-sided centre back because we already have Micky van der Ven. I don't mind that, but when it comes to like a winger or a central midfield like a DM, if I hear anything. I'm delighted that Angel Gomez is going to Marseille, by the way. I'm so fucking happy that he's not coming to Tottenham.
Is there any news regarding that? I didn't see anything.
Yeah, apparently today he's now at Marseille, basically wrapping it up, which is fucking beautiful to me.
I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we don't need him, right? I think that's the case, right? That
over Pape Matar Sarr, 100% we do.
Listen, I always thought that he's more of like even an attacking mid, like Kulusevski, Maddison role, right? That's how I thought of Angel Gomez, right? But to back your point, Sean, right? You spoke about the wings, right? The fact that Bryan Mbeumo is going to United, I swear to God, when I heard those news, I wanted to kill somebody or something, right? Like, how is it that such a good player, right, is going to United who don't have Europe, right? And based on all the metrics, we should be in a much stronger negotiation position rather than them, right? And he still chooses them. And apparently we were interested or inquiring on all that stuff, right? It's hard for me to believe that we even did inquire, right? But if we did, then how the fuck did they lose the negotiations against United, right? I get it that they are a more historic club, right? But for me, there is, unless it's a ridiculous wage he asked for, like if he asked for 350k, okay, I am fine with.
I think he's going to get paid 100. I think he's getting 120 grand a week.
Yeah, then what the fuck are we doing, right? If United can offer 120k and 50 million, I bet you this club our club can offer 50 million and 150
Cunha,
or 170.
Cunha is getting 200k a week, and you tell me we cannot afford that.
Yeah,
and he's a proven 15 goal scorer.
I think here's what I think though, right? I think that if you're someone who's comparing Manchester City to Tottenham, then like first of all, it doesn't matter how low they fall, they're still Manchester United. But they didn't win the Europa League this year, but they won the FA Cup 2 years ago, right? And they won they won the Carabao. Was it the Carabao or the FA Cup? They won it the year before as well. The Carabao Cup the year before. So their pedigree of winning cups. Right? If we're suddenly saying that we're a cup winner, then they're a better cup winner. And the fact that we finished 17th is even worse than where they finished. And the fact that they don't have European football next year, and the fact that they're going through a rebuild, and at least they've made at least they know, at least United fans know that Amorim's starting the fucking season. So like, if I'm Bryan Mbeumo and I'm a neutral, I probably would choose Man United over Tottenham. You know, I would choose Newcastle over both. To be honest, though, I think Newcastle.
Newcastle definitely, right? Newcastle definitely. It just pisses me off it's United, right? Because, funnily enough, right? Listen, I know United are a huge club, right? One of the biggest in the world, but I personally don't respect them. I hate United, right? So maybe that's a bit of a bias speaking through me, right? But I seriously thought that with the negotiation position that we have right now, right, being the Europa Cup winners and being in the Champions League, right, and our forward line being just as bad as United's, and the spots are basically open, right? If you are a quality player and you back yourself, you can nail a spot in the first 11, right? I wanted to believe that we can sit on the table with Bryan Mbeumo, right? And if United are offering 120k, right, like you said,
I think
like,
so.
I know it's not the best finance practice, right? But we could maybe offset the history of the club with 30k more, right, on the pay wage.
No,
right?
I hear you, mate. I hear you. Yeah,
it's a
dream signing.
Yeah, it's a dream signing. So I just watch these signings being made, players moving around, right? Like Ederson, apparently, the Atalanta Ederson, right? Apparently, he wants to go to Saudi or something, right?
Apparently, yeah.
Like that David Hansko that we spoke about, he's going to Monaco, right? Like,
why are you going to fucking Monaco? What the fuck?
To play with Eric Dyer in the backline, right? Like, because Eric Dyer is there too, right? So I'm watching these type of deals, right? Because of course I'm not talking about Wirtz and Reinders and fucking Cherky and all these guys, right? I understand we are in no negotiation position to fight with City and Liverpool for players, right? But when I watch good players going from Feyenoord to Monaco, right?
Yeah.
You are telling me we can't fight financially with Monaco and status-wise and all that stuff, right? I'm just furious that because of the lack of like decision making at the club, we are not in talks with these players, right? Because we don't even know if the manager stays, right? We don't even know if we are going to be owned by Levy in 2 months, right? Because apparently, like, there is some sort of takeover deal happening or not, right? We don't know. We just don't know as a fan base, right? And it infuriates me. I would rather like have a clear decision and clear situation, no matter what it is, right? I would rather have that than be in that limbo state, as I said, right? This is something that I am so furious about.
Sorry, go on.
No, sorry. I just want to say, like, Sean, I've watched your debate with other people about like we need to make top 4 to make the money, attract the players, pay the wages. And this is where I don't believe this rule applies for Spurs. We can make as much top 4 as we want, as much money as we can, finish as high as we do, even this season make Champions League and win a trophy. But I know this club is not going forward. We're not going to pay the wages. We're not going to care enough to buy the right players. And we just won a trophy, and we don't even know what's going to happen next season. We don't even know who's our manager. We don't even know if Fabio's back at Tottenham. Is Lange going to be sacked? We don't know anything. And it's been, 4 days since the window opened? And there's already Man City already bought like almost 2 top-class players.
Man City have spent £450 million already this year since January the 1st.
And Man U's about to spend 120 million, and they're not even in the Champions League. And they finished 16th.
It winds me the fuck up, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been defending Daniel Levy for a long time. I have. I've never defended him.
Your close mates.
Illogically, right? I've always it's mainly I challenge other people's narrative more than like, oh, he's just a great chairman. I don't think he's as bad as what people say, but it's times like these when there's just absolutely no communication. I mean, and maybe that's maybe that's the reason why there's no communication, because Donna Cullen was the head of PR, right? So maybe we haven't got a communication department right now. I don't know. But fucking Vinay is supposed to be like the king of fan engagement, and he started a couple of days ago. How about you bring out a little hi everybody, this is what the plan is kind of message. Yeah. Nice way to break the ice. You know, it'd be really cool if we could get one of those, please, Vinny. I mean, I don't know. But I hear what you're saying, Dietrich.
No, but even like, I'm not trying to be like reactionary, but which players are you going to buy? For me, Mbeumo was the perfect option to have as a right wing, as a cover for, or as a starter, as like competition for Brennan Johnson. Who are we going to buy?
Would you have been okay if it wasn't Mbeumo, but it was Leroy Sané?
Sané, I would take him as a free any day of the week. I think he's a brilliant player, and he would fit the system. His pace, his finishing. Sure, he's not the same as Man City as once he was at Man City, like the technical ability, but I still think he's a bloody good player. If I don't see names like Eze, Sané, and Mbeumo, I think it's going to be a failed summer for a team that won a trophy and made Champions League.
Wait, I was fucking.
Those are the standards I am on.
I was desperate for Sané to come in because I've been promising people on my channel since like December that this summer's going to be, we're going to see a new club's highest earner and a new transfer record, and a new transfer record. And I thought that Sané was going to tick that box, like within 3 days of I was like, oh, thank fuck for that. I'm not in the mud, but now I feel like I'm going to be in the mud on so many different levels. It's going to be hard to climb out. I'll be drowning in mud.
Yeah, I don't want to change the subject, but I'm just seeing in the comments people saying Dibling, like if we get Dibling, but if he is our marquee signing, I'm going to lose my shit.
Who's this? Tyler Dibling.
Yeah, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's worth nothing what Southampton are asking for. Not even close.
Listen, with Dibling, and I will apply the same logic to Tell and even to Odobert when we bought him, right? I understand that these are young, talented players, right? But there is a point where you have to invest in the ready now players. You can't
Yes.
just build a squad of 20-year-olds, right, and expect it to somehow grow into a team of world beaters, right? Right now we have, considering young wingers, right, we have Moore, Odobert, and Young, and you can even maybe count Johnson to that, right? Because he's
And we're
like
going to sign
23 or
Tell.
24, right? Yeah, and we are going to sign Tell or Diebling. Why? Like,
And Micky
what's
Moore.
what's the reason to get these players, right? I would much rather, and from a selfish Spurs fan point of view, see Micky Moore be given a chance, right? Because first of all, he's free, right? We don't have to pay for him, so we don't waste transfer budget on bringing in another Micky Moore, basically, right? He's crap trained, right? Homegrown. He's a Spurs fan, right? There is so much more to like about Micky Moore being given a chance rather than bringing in Tyler Diebling, right? Who is basically a second Micky Moore, just for Tyler Diebling to take more place because we spent money on Diebling. So now you kind of have to play him, right? Because you spent ridiculous money on him because Diebling is going to be like fucking 40 million or something, right? Or 50 million. Why? That for me, there is no, it's such an illogical decision to look at players like this because we already have those players, right? We already have this type of player, young, exciting winger, right? How many more do you need? It's not fucking, FIFA careers where you just, go on FIFA, sort by potential and buy everyone, with high potential, right? It's not a game. It doesn't work like that,
Michael,
right? So,
sorry,
yeah,
just do you know the thing that scares me the most? We've watched Spurs like us three like for a long time. We know Spurs always act like last minute and then they do panic buys. I don't want to see Spurs in a panic buy and then go against PSG in the Super Cup final with, like, no offense, garbage players. If I see that, we're gonna get absolutely destroyed. We need ready-made, competitive, and almost borderline top-class players just to compete and get better.
That Super Cup is going to be, I don't know, like I know Sean honestly think we'll get bent over and abused, right?
Are you guys all Ange out on paper? Like, if you can get someone better, are you all Ange out?
He needs to go unless we get better. And if I see Thomas Frank, then I rather have Ange than Thomas Frank.
I think I'm the same. Yeah, but let me ask you this, right? Would the Super Cup result sway your opinion, right? And I'll ask the same thing to the guys in the chat, right? If you're Ange in right now and we get murdered 8-0 by PSG, will that change your opinion to swing it back to Ange out? And if you're Ange out right now and we somehow sneak a tricky 1-0 victory by parking the fucking bus, and then like Brennan Johnson back post bully Brennan Johnson nicks a 1-0 in the 85th minute, would you then go, fuck it, all right then we can do it at the Champions League level?
I've always said, like, even if he wins the Europa, I still want him out because I don't think he's the right manager going forward. If he wins the Super Cup, good, I'm going to be the happiest man on earth. But it's not going to change my opinion. I don't think, like, I'm not an emotional person. One trophy does not going to change what he did the whole season. And next season, I know it's not going to be any better. So I think it's better if we change now and hopefully hope for the best against PSG.
What manager is out there? This is the problem, right?
I don't think
I go back and forth on this because I don't. I'm Ange out because I can't forgive for me, the league is the most important competition.
It is important.
I've always said that, right? Like, the league is your best barometer. Cups come and go. They're moments in time. The league is your bread and butter. You can't overlook it. Deprioritizing the philosophy was what he actually did. He didn't deprioritize the league. He deprioritized the philosophy. And that I'll never like get over the fact that we wasted 2 years dying on a shitty hill that didn't need to die on. But to me, I still don't want a sideways step. So unless you can show me better, then I don't want to fucking risk that disruption because the dressing room seems to be on board with him. And I don't know who's going to come in that's like...
Xavi's available. Glasner has 1 year left on his contract, so you can still pursue him.
He's come out and said that he's 99% staying at Crystal Palace, though, right?
But they all say that. Even Amrim said the same thing in the summer, and look what happened. Even what's his name, Arne Slot, where he said the same thing with the Lynx, and then he just joined Liverpool. I would
Sam,
even
Brendan Rodgers is not a shout. We're not having
He's
Brendan
not.
Rodgers.
No,
even the
mate.
have you guys heard of the Florentina manager?
What's his name?
Paladino.
Yeah, Palladino.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Girona manager, I would take them. Like I need someone that long term we can do something.
So for me, right, like in essence, I am Ange out, right? Like I lost trust with this guy over half a year ago, right? For me, I always go by the logic that I want to see players, manager, and ownership of the club do everything in their power to try and win, right? And I am a logical person. I understand that sometimes you can do everything in your power and not win, right? But if I see that they try, and if I see that they make proper decisions, and the aim is glory, right? I am always fine with a manager, the players, and the ownership if they actively try to win, right? But I lost trust with Ange because I think there were so many matches this season, right, where even if with the injuries that we had, he was making decisions that were sabotaging the team, right? He was making decisions that were actively working against what the team wanted, actively working against the team and making us open and vulnerable and actively losing the games because of his decisions, right? So I lost this trust, and right now this trust is not rebuilt because of that Europa League Cup, right? Because these were 3 or 4 matches where he parked the bus, right? Or like I guess like Frankfurt first leg and Brodov first leg, we didn't really park the bus, right? But in the reverse fixtures, we parked the bus, and this is why we advanced, right? So for me, these games don't prove to me that he can actually adapt and make proper decisions in the league, right? Because you can't park the bus in the league for 38 matches, right? And expect to do what, right? Like what will come if we park the bus for 38 games like we did against Man United? We probably win like 16 matches, lose 16 and draw 4 or something like that, right? And we finish 10th or something, right? So nothing good comes from that tactic. So for me, when I look at the next season, he didn't regain my trust, right? So at this point, I am Ange out, right? But I agree with your point, guys, right? That Frank, Silva, Iraola, those are not the names for me where I am happy to let go of Ange, right? Because he has this certain credit because he won the trophy, right? I know it's kind of counterintuitive, right? But he won the trophy, so he has a bit of credit, right? And Frank, Iraola, and Silva and guys like that aren't good enough for me, even though I think they are slightly better than Ange, aren't good enough for me to make that switch, right? For me, if you want to sack Ange, you have to bring a guy that, first of all, like is much better than Ange, but also has like pedigree behind them. That's why I always said, like, for me, Glasner, even before this Crystal Palace story, and because like I wanted Glasner after Conte, right? I thought this would be the best choice after Conte, right? But Glasner, he's a Europa League winner, a DFB Pokal winner. He's like, I like German managers, not gonna lie. Like I like their approach to management, their approach to tactics and all that stuff, right? So for me, Glasner is one choice, but I get what Sean is saying with Glasner, that, you know, he most likely will stay at Crystal Palace. But the reason why I'm giving Glasner as an example is basically, like I said, to make an example, right? I want this type of manager or higher, right? So for me, Xavi, he won the La Liga, right? He has the prestige. He was one of the greatest midfielders, right? Like I want this type of guy, like someone with a stature, with a prestige behind them, right? And one reason is my selfish own reason that I just gave, but the different reason is that all the Ange-in fans, right, they won't settle for Frank. If we make a switch from Ange to Frank, all the Ange-inners will be on Frank's case since day one, right? They won't forgive him for any mistake that he makes, right? Because we sacked a cup-winning manager to get Frank in, right? And he doesn't have the prestige, as I said, right? But if we get a prestigious manager like Inzaghi or someone else, right? I know Inzaghi is going to Saudi, just as an example, right? Then I think many of the Ange-inners can accept the fact that we upgraded massively.
Yeah, but I think also it's worth pointing out, and I'll bring Eugene in, mate. Good to see you, Eugene. But I also think it's worth pointing out, I think that there's like certain demographics that are within the, and also psychographics that are within the Ange-in camp. Like I think a lot of the Ange-in camp, obviously not all of them, but I think a lot of them are Australian, right? Or that have followed Ange from Celtic. And a lot of those guys will probably, they're temporary Tottenham fans. that will follow Ange wherever he goes next, right? So I think that there's a disproportionate, and this is no disrespect to any of them, and I'm certainly not saying that all people that are Australian are that way inclined, but I think that there is a subsection of it that is that way. And I would also make the argument that I think some of the people that are currently Ange in, that were Ange out before the season finished, I think some of those are Levy out that are expecting a sacking, and that if the new manager comes in and it doesn't work out, which in entire like, I'll finish my point in a second, but I do think that some of that is a bit of a kind of calculated option to be able to spin into a Levy out. Let's get the change for Tottenham band, saber rattling thing going again, which I don't think they have to do that to get that going, because I think that Levy is fucked here either way. Even if he had been on the draw quicker and actually like made a decision early, I don't think it really matters. The entire likelihood is that Daniel Levy comes out of this stinking, and that the attention is going to be back on him. Whether he sticks with Ange and next season starts shit, it will be, why didn't you sack him? The evidence was there. And if he changes and gets someone else in and we start the season badly or even mediocre, it will be, why did you get rid of the best manager, the most successful manager we've ever had? And even if we start the season well, the credit won't go to Daniel Levy. The credit will go to the manager for starting the season well. So Daniel Levy he's between a rock and a hard place on this one, but he's amplifying his own problems by what is happening right now. And that's where I have no sympathy for him, because I think the guy is asleep at the wheel. The opportunity to like carry on the good PR that he had, the way that he paid for everyone's flights and tickets for the game from the club versus what Sir Jim Ratcliffe did, PR win, tick. The way that he did the TIFO, both in the home leg of the semi-final, the away leg with the flags, then the final, then even the one at Brighton on the last day of the season. Yeah. I know it's small things, right? Probably cost fuck all in the grand scheme of things, but all those little things were little moments where everyone's like, "Oh, well done, Daniel. Good boy, good lad." and then he's absolutely fucked it up right now with this like code silent.
Am I dreaming that Sean is criticizing Levy? I'm actually dreaming, I think. This is the first time you've actually criticized him the whole stream, not parts and bits.
There's nothing to applaud him for. There's nothing to applaud him for right now. It's a fucking shit show. It's a shit show. Right now is an absolute shit show. Eugene, I'll bring you in, man. How you doing, buddy?
Eugene, how you doing?
Hey, boys. I'm good. I'm kind of annoyed as well. Every day I wake up, I'm like, okay, we gotta have some news. I'm checking my WhatsApp. I'm checking the news. Nothing. I mean, we're beating a dead horse again. But look, in football, just like in any other sport, there are some excellent coaches who are very tactically astute, but they're just not winners. But then there are managers and coaches who might not be as astute tactically, but they win. If you look at Pochettino, everybody says, we can all agree, excellent coach, but he could not get us over the line. He's one of the few managers who lost in France with PSG, which is tough to do. So I just think, and Ange, we can say what we want about his tactics, which, yes, have been dreadful, but he's a winner. So that's a tough one. With Frank, Areola, Silva, they could be very good coaches for mid-table teams. But we can say that we want our manager to compete on all fronts, but all those managers, they play once a week. With Frank, right, he plays once a week. But ultimately,
Ian, have you got? Sorry, Ian, have you got a stream going as well? An echo.
Compete on all fronts, but all those managers. Oh, Ian was listening to me. He's listening to me in surround sound.
And then he closed the wrong tab. He should have closed the YouTube. He closed the StreamYard. What a Burke. What a donut.
So that's the issue for me, right? It's having a good coach who is not a winner, and our expectations for that manager to compete on multiple fronts, that's not going to happen. So with Frank, I'm dubious. That's not my choice. Like Michael said, I also want Xavi for selfish reasons. It'd be super cool to see Xavi in Tottenham. But on the other hand, Xavi is used to managing Gavi, Pedri, Yamal, and here he's going to be with Bissouma, tell. So it's a different level. In Barcelona, he can say, I want this player, and that player is going to come in. And this is not how we do business. So even with Xavi, it'd be super exciting, amazing name, definitely the credibility, but can he coach our players, and can he be in this environment? I'm not sure. So Glasner, for me, is the only no-brainer. I would say, yeah, he proved he can win. He's tactically astute. So Glasner, for me, is it. Everybody else who's available, honestly, I'm just not excited about it,
Yeah.
And transfers, the big, and ultimately, I don't even think the manager matters as much. We can, again, if we want our managers to compete on multiple fronts, we need players. We need a squad. So whether it's Ange, Frank, Xavi, Glasner, we need additions.
The manager won't matter if we don't improve the squad, but if we improve the squad, the manager will still matter.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
can
it's the margins. It depends what your definition of success is, right? If we have a good squad, the manager, I feel like, can make a difference between, top 6, top 4, or, like second, third, and maybe winning the Prem. But I don't think a manager can make a difference between 3rd and 10th, right? I think it's on the players. So like Arsenal, Arteta, I feel like he's holding him back because they do have a squad. So when you have a squad, you can make those tweaks to get you over the hump. We're not in that position yet. So
yeah, if I can quickly on what you said about Levy, both you and Sean and even Dietrich's, right, what you mentioned, and I've said it once, right? I'm not the biggest fan of Levy, right? But I never said that I am categorically like, no matter what happens, I am Levy out, right? Because for me, as I said like 20 minutes ago, for me, if the ownership does what's in its power to achieve glory on the football pitch, I am fine with the ownership, right? Unless they do some like despicable things, right? But that's like, no, let's not get into like politics, religion, and all that stuff, right? Like if they do something fishy on that front, then that's a different thing, right? But if they are behaving morally and their aim is to do like everything in their power to try and be a good club, right, and try to be a competitive club, then I'm fine with the ownership, right? And my biggest like frustration with what you said about Libishon, right? Like before the final, like PR ticks all over the place, right? Keeping Kanch till the final, PR tick, right? Great. The tifos, great, right? The funding the tickets, great. Everything great, right? Like he was on an
Good
up,
behavior.
right?
He was on the good behavior.
A good boy, like you said, right? Good behavior, good boy. Just just making like little things that you look at him and you're like, maybe you care a bit, right? Maybe there is something like about you that cares about the club, right? And then my like dream scenario was that after the final, right, we get a decision, right, on Ange, whatever it is, but make a decision as quick as possible. Show us the intent, right? Show us what you mean. Show us what your plan is, right? And act on the plan, right? So if it was keep Ange and back him, fine. Just tell us and do, right? And same thing, if it's not with Ange, just sack him, appoint a manager quickly, and show us the ambition, right? Because it's all good releasing PR statements, right? After the final saying, oh, we tasted the glory, now we want more, right? And then you fuck about for the next 2 weeks, right? Doing nothing. That's not tasting the glory and wanting more. That's sitting on your ass and doing nothing, right? So it's, again, like, I think Daniel Levy had an opportunity to sway a lot of people from Levy out to Levy in, right? If he acted like a proper football owner, right? Which is, again, as I said, having a concrete plan, appointing people that do the job, right, and acting on the plan. Instead, we get this like,
which is why I'm going to wait. I hear you, mate, but I'm just like, this is why, like, I fucking hope. Like I say, even if there's a takeover that we're not aware of that's happening right now, and that we're aware of something happening, if that's the kind of excuse, then obviously cool, right? Especially if it's Qatar, and that the best possible outcome is that he gets to stay, use his skill set at generating revenue, but they bring in people that can do the better football side stuff. wonderful scenario. If that's what takes the next 2 weeks, whatever, to figure it out, then if that's the end game, then okay. And I'm sure everyone will be okay with that. If it's because of boardroom struggles and because, Vivian Lewis or whatever, and I'll welcome you in, Lubo. You're a very popular man, aren't you, mate? The chat fucking likes a bit of lube. I like a bit of Lubo. You dirty people. If it's because of boardroom struggles, I'm not okay with it. I think it's fucking the worst possible time for it. But at least it gives you some understanding that maybe that there's some clarification, that at least there's disharmony, and at least that there's people that do care and that they want their, they want to direct the club in a different direction. And I won't be okay with it, but at least I'll understand. But if this is all just a nothing burger, if the Donna Cullen thing is literally that she was just planned to retire and it happened now, I'd still ask the question, why now? Why not last year? Like, what was the reason for the delay? But if it all transpires that there's nothing to see here and we're just all sitting on our fucking thumbs because Daniel Levy wanted to go on holiday for a week now, and Ange Postecoglou wanted to go on holiday for a week, which I understand, our post-season, but the club haven't got round to making a decision, then it screams of amateur hour. And that to me is like, to your point, Michael, and to your point, Eugene, and also to Detrex's, like that to me is almost like an absolute, it's so disgraceful. It's so pathetic that I would have to just sit there and say it for what it is, which is it's unacceptable ownership behavior. And therefore, I'd probably have to go, let's all root for the change that I know Lubo's about to come in and tell us we need.
Ian is the right man for this topic.
It's just also disrespectful. Like, you can say, you might want Ange out, which is fair, but if a man just won a trophy and just keeping him in the limbo and not, I think he might know what's going on, but just keeping him in the limbo for 2 weeks and not interviewing candidates behind his back, and that being leaked in the press, that's just not how a big business.
It's not how you do business. It's not how you conduct yourself as a professional.
It's very disrespectful. Exactly, very disrespectful.
Welcome, Lubo.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing?
Good evening. Yeah.
All right, mate. You were hoping you were going to hear the immortal words, weren't you?
What, Levy's resigns?
No, that I was going to say I've gone Levy out.
Sure. I've got to say, I sort of put it out on my Twitter feed today. Is Sean drifting towards Levy out? Please listen in. So, so hopefully there's a few more listeners on. I've said all along, this isn't a football club that have behaved like a football club for many, many, many years. And, we've got players are not going to come and join the club. They can't close any deals for on transfers until players know who the manager's going to be. We're going to be possibly speaking with players. Whichever manager's going to come in, he will then look at the players that we're talking to and say yes, no, or possibly, maybe. But until a manager's appointed, no, who's going to join? You maybe get someone like Walker Peters who knows the club and is on a free transfer. You may get someone like him, but I would think the majority of the time, and that's no disrespect to him, just that his circumstances are slightly different, maybe to other players that we're talking to. But these are
they like the fact that there's no clarification on his future, as in no statement that coming out, even if it might be the dreaded kiss of death, which is like we were 100% behind him, even if it was more like tailored than that, which said like, we're aware of the the media press speculation, and obviously it has some merit because of the poor, disappointing league performance, but ultimately, he also led us to our first European trophy. We hope that the next season will be a stark improvement. Even if it was like a legit, but the fact that nothing's come out, does that mean that they are absolutely considering sacking him? They want to sack him. If there's nothing happening up here, right? If there's no takeover that's imminent, if there's no boardroom shenanigans, any of that shit, is it literally that the reason why they haven't made a decision, or the reason why they haven't come out and spoken about it, is because they want to sack him, but they haven't found a suitable replacement yet?
Quite possibly on that one. I do think it was very telling that with the video that came out of Daniel Levy speaking to the team after at the after-match party, after we won the trophy, that no mention was made of, he talked about taking the club forwards, but there was no mention of Ange in those with those comments. Nothing like, we're looking forward.
He said thank you to Ange, didn't he? He say thank you to Ange in the.
He didn't say anything about when he moved on to going forward for next season and onwards. There was no mention of, and we look forward to Ange taking us forward in that direction and many more trophies together. And I think that was very, very telling. That left everybody hanging, basically. And everybody's still hanging 11 days later. So
yeah. 11 days, mate. 11 days. It took 4 days to get to the moon.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks later from Berghvall. It was going on there, wasn't it?
It's so bad. Like, I can't defend it. I can always rip your arguments about Daniel Levy apart.
You can try.
But there's one thing I don't understand with Levy. People say he's like one of the most ruthless businessmen, but when it comes to making a decision, especially on the football side, he always acts like a little, the smallest person in the room always hides.
But is it up to Levy though? So that's the question. The decision at Ange, is it Paratic at this point? Is it Levy? Is it Man?
No, it's his decision.
Make that decision.
He's the boss at the end of the day.
But is that decided on the board level?
Whoever's decision it is, it's not like if Paratic is coming back, it's not like he hasn't known he's coming back, right? If we're just waiting until July, he knows he's walking into a job. He doesn't have to be at Tottenham Hotspur HQ to be sitting there looking through the data and going, you know what, this ain't good enough.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's not as if he's kept in a cryo chamber and has no context, and now he has to go through 50 hours of video proof to know that Ange is good or not, right? It's
sure? It's the thing.
It's just so mad, right? Because I get the point that we are generalizing with saying that Levy is responsible for that, right? Because I never believe that it's 100% Levy making all the decisions, right? Because that's impossible to lead a $5 billion company by yourself, right? You cannot make every single decision. That's why you employ people and delegate them to make decisions for you, right? But at the end of the line, you are not like it's not the whole point of the buck stops at the top, right? But you are responsible as an owner or as a director or whatever you want to call his position. You are responsible for what's going on at the club, right? So even if it's not Levy who decides whether Ange is sacked or not, he's responsible for the decision that person makes, right? Because he employed them, and that person makes the decision, right? So for fans, for us, Levy is partially responsible, at least for that decision, right? So if it's as you said, if it's Paratici, if it's Vinay making the decision, if it's whoever else making the decision on Ange, right? Levy is partially to blame for that 2-week hiatus that we are on, right? For that 2-week, as I said, fumble twindling session that we are doing right now, right?
Let's be honest, Michael, right? Let's be honest.
I don't understand,
if Vinny, right? If Vinny is on gardening leave, and we couldn't organise for him to be back by the 1st of June or 2nd of June, if it's true that he doesn't start until Monday, then again, what the fuck is going on? Because what are we saying here? Is it sorry, Daniel's saying, Vinny, can you please start by the 2nd of June? We got a lot to get through. Sorry, mate. The flights with my kids to go away to Greece for a fortnight. It's too expensive in the summer holidays, mate. Those flights are ridiculous. I'm going to get them before the kids break up. I've got no idea why it is that he couldn't start on the 2nd of June. It's bonkers. It's absolutely insane. Go on.
When is he starting, Sean?
Well, I thought he started on the 2nd, but then I read somewhere that he doesn't actually start until the whatever it is, the 8th, right? Or the 9th. But
I don't believe in.
You mentioned four possible scenarios at the start of the show.
Well, I only had 4 spots in the poll. In fact, let's have a look at the poll. See what people are saying.
But
so it's 47% typically Tottenham, 23% boardroom conflict, 16% takeover, 14%. There's nothing to see here. It's just a holiday period.
Sean, could there not be a fifth?
Yeah, probably.
Which is that the club are going to make one blanket announcement covering everybody in one go. Mum, Lang, Veritashi.
Who was Ryan Mason's right hand man? The nepotism that was shown to the son of a previous player. What was his name?
Cool.
The assistant manager.
I don't know.
Ryan Mason's mate. Let me know in the chat. Who was Ryan Mason's buddy? That was like the son of a previous player who never did anything anywhere, and he's at Tottenham.
Matty Wells.
Yeah, Matty Wells. That's it. Matty Wells. That's it. What's he doing? What's he doing? Is he going to fuck off? And also, actually, that's a good. Sorry, I'm in a fucking pissy mood today. Apologies. Is Ryan Mason being allowed to go to West Brom? Does that signal the likely end for Matty Wells, Jedenik, or whoever else is in that coaching staff? And then who do we get in as our assistant manager next year? Even if Ange stays, we need a new guy, right? Who's that?
We do. I think he's gone. I think if he was staying, then I think this would have been announced by now. As part of Levy's speech, we thank Ange and we look forward to him bringing us more trophies in the future. That would have been the easiest thing to say, but he didn't. So that's why also it's, for me, Ange is great up to a certain level. I don't think, I think the Europa League clubs that we played, the teams we played, I don't think are top half Premier League standard. We won 4, drew 2 out of 20, lost 14 out of 20 in terms of playing the top half teams. So I think Ange did well. I think the trophy was better than any previous trophy that he's won. So he reached a new high as well, and well done to him. You've got to take your hat off to anybody that wins a trophy. But his league form and everything else that goes with that job, I think was just so poor that we don't have a choice. Because the only key question there is in terms of the manager is who can take the club forward from here. Do we think Ange can take the club forward? Well, I've seen nothing in. We're looking at a higher level of competition this coming season. We've still got the 3 domestic trophies, but the Champions League is way tougher and the level's way higher than Europe.
What's your definition of taking the club forward? I guess that's the issue, right? What do you expect? And for example, Frank, is he that guy that, he's never proven that he can actually do what we want him to do?
But you know what, Steve? He's never, Eugene, he's never had the opportunity, Frank, has he?
But why are we giving managers opportunities versus actually getting somebody who's proven, right? If we're saying this is the moment. I agree
with you, Eugene.
Hang on, but we brought in Conte and Jose, didn't we? And look how that went.
Right. So the issue is recruitment, right? So that's the main issue.
And which managers that of that ilk that you're talking about are going to join Tottenham?
So why not stick it out with Ange, where I'm just saying the risk of sticking with Ange is similar to the risk of us getting Frank or an unknown. It's not. It's completely different. And the reason is, you look at if you split the 2 years that Ange has been a manager into 4. We started off first 19 games with 36 points. Then we went down to 30. Then we went down to 24. And the last half of the season, we got 14 points. So the trend is down and down and down. Now, if we'd have made a bad start in those first 10 games, and then we'd have picked up the way Chelsea did last year under Poch, and then we just got stronger and stronger this season, you can see progression. He's improving players, the system's working, and Spurs are getting better. And I agree with Sean, the league is your bread and butter. But the trend is down, not up. And if this trend carries on next season,
we're going to be relegated. You know, we can't.
We're never going to get relegated.
We're not getting relegated.
We're never going to get relegated.
Or we'll end up first 10 games. We'll be in relegation. We'll be in the relegation zone the way we were under Ramos after.
We're never going to, mate. It's never going to happen.
No,
it's never going to happen.
No, because but there's no point. There's no point taking that risk when all the evidence for the league and domestically shows that we're not good enough.
Let me ask you a question.
Everything that you're saying.
Let me ask you a good question. I'll let you come back on it, Eugene. In fact, you can answer first if you want. Would you? So all roads point to Thomas Frank right now, right? £7 million compensation for Ange, £10 million compensation to Brentford, probably a cheeky signing bonus or two for Thomas Frank. I think that's a sideways step. Apparently, it's going to cost $18 million. Oh, sorry, 22 million, which is £18 million compensation to America for Pochettino. Any chance that Daniel Levy would do that now that Donna Cullen's gone, and Donna Cullen was the cop block on Pochettino 2 years ago?
Yeah. Possibly.
Any interest in that? Would he pay an extra 10 bar to get that geezer in? Because you can't do it if you can't do it now because he's in a contract. You can't do it next summer either, because if America do even slightly well in the World Cup, then they won't finish the World Cup until July, which Tottenham are already on the pre-match on the.
We're not doing well, Sean, with him.
Sean, there's a famous saying: "Don't ever go back to your ex." Never. I love Poch gave me some good memories, but he never took us forward and never took the cup seriously, and that's one issue I had with him. For the team he had, he should have won at least a League Cup during his tenure, but he didn't do anything.
Top G, Pochettino would come back to Tottenham like
of course he would
30 seconds if that phone call was made.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to come back, bro.
And to answer Ian with Thomas Frank, there's no data you can show me that Thomas Frank can do better than Ange in this Spurs squad. There's nothing you can show me.
Dietrich, why is the glass half empty? There is no proof. There is no data at all to show that Frank won't do better.
But
okay, then Ian, you're a businessman. Most of you guys are businessmen.
Hey, we're talking about the unknown, but you know what? Would anybody, when Eddie Howe came up, you know, when they were talking before Nuno joined, would anybody have wanted Eddie Howe?
No.
You know, they said, "Oh, he went down with Bournemouth. He's doing an amazing job." I think you know it's very, very trendy to get in a foreign manager. Anybody with a foreign name, it's very trendy to bring in as a manager. And you look through the Premier League, and for me, I'm sure there are some really good English managers who don't get an opportunity because it's very fashionable.
Ian, I'll prove you wrong on one point. Did Thomas Frank ever coach a team in the Champions League? No, he hasn't. When Eddie Howe took over for Newcastle, were they in the Champions League? They were not in Europe. So he just had to focus on the league. And he took his team from basically relegation to top four. But that's the kind of manager I wouldn't mind seeing. But Thomas Frank doesn't have the CV. I don't want him.
And just one thing. Yeah.
He has done an amazing job.
He hasn't.
Hang on, at a small club.
What's an amazing job?
With very little money.
What's an amazing job?
Keeping them in the Premier League.
I'm not Brentford. I'm not a team. I want to stay in the Premier League. I want a team. I want a manager that can take me to the league, take me to the promised land. Thomas Frank has never shown that.
But people can only prove themselves if they're given an opportunity.
But Ian,
that's another club to take the chance.
He will be snapped up by a very good. Maybe if it's not here, he'll be snapped up by a very good European club.
But I hope he does. I hope he does well with another club. But the Spurs are not the team where you should gamble right now. We're at the highest.
Dietrich, we have won 3 trophies in 34 years. Where is your sense of entitlement coming from? We are entitled to get this type of manager
because we're big six. Because we're a big six club.
We're not a big 6 club.
What? The Premier League would disagree with you. We are top 6.
Footballing terms, let's shred.
There's no big 6 though, is there? There's a big 5. There's a big 5 and everybody else.
We are much.
We are much bigger than
your expectations
me.
are
Ian, I'll just finish on this, Ian. My mentality, it's not about like, oh, we're this, we're that. I think Spurs are a big club, and a lot of us would agree we're a big club. And I don't take Thomas Frank. I'm not at the Brentford level. I'm not at the Brighton level. I don't want those kind of managers or players. I want to challenge with Man City. I want to challenge with Arsenal, Liverpool.
But
that's my aim.
You're never going to do that with these owners because they're not prepared to go the extra yards to stretch themselves. They're very risk averse. So
Ian, so if that's the case, so what do you expect? I guess my point is just one thing is we've all been saying for the last few weeks, this is the sliding doors moment. This is it, right? And if that's the case, then going with Frank, like why as Spurs, why do we give managers that chance to step up? It shouldn't be us. It should be somebody else. If this is the sliding doors moment for us, we need to act accordingly, both in the transfer window and with the manager.
But
getting somebody with no experience with 1 game a week.
If you haven't heard a fucking realistic option, right? You're not going to get Jurgen Klopp. You're not going to get Jurgen Klopp. Right. You're not going to like Saudi's convinced the money man Inzaghi. Yes. Edin Terzic comes with a whole bunch of fucking problems. Edin Terzic is a control freak, and he's also pragmatic as fuck, as his natural tendency. You're not going to get none of us seem to want Iriola, which is, I agree with Iriola or fucking Marco Silva. No. Oliver Glasner is Glasner's the only guy that's tried and tested in the Premier League that comes with, I think, basically universal support.
Yep. Yeah,
After that, you've got Savvy, right? And Savvy comes with his own problems, like you said, Eugene, right? He played with X, Y, and Z. Is he going to do it at that? Is he going to want to come in and work under a certain level of limitation? And by the way, there is no links to Xavi apart from ones that we've spoken about months ago. So I don't know where the fuck we go to improve. But Thomas Frank isn't it for me.
Sean, can I ask Dietrich? What did you think, Dietrich, when Poch was brought in?
What I thought of Poch, I thought it was a terrible appointment, and it showed I was right.
You think so?
Yeah, I was right.
So we saw some of the most fabulous football that I've seen in my life. So I've got to tell you something.
Ange achieved more than him, and that's pretty sad.
Ange isn't fit to lick Poch's boots.
No. I hate. Wait. Ian. Trust me. I hate. No. I hate Ange too. I don't like him as a manager, but he achieved more than Poch. And that's a fact, and that's not an opinion.
Ange's and Poch's, it's not even close. Poch has never won. He even lost with PSG. Where Ange, you can say about Japan, but he wins everywhere he goes. Poch is a great coach. He's just not a winner. He bottles when it matters. And that's why I don't want him back.
One has a Europa League, the other one hasn't won a trophy. And trust me, PSG doesn't count. It doesn't count. PSG, anyone wins at France.
And he lost with PSG.
Hang on. Let me answer that point. If winning in France doesn't count, so what about PSG last week? Does that not count?
I'm saying no. The league PSG wins it every season. The Champions League, that's a big statement.
No, PSG don't win it. Poch lost. They don't win it every season.
And Poch lost the league with PSG, which is tough to do. It's tougher to lose the league than win the league with PSG, and he lost the league. So, but again, right? That's like it goes to what I'm saying, to what I said before, Lubo. There's some great coaches, some excellent tactical coaches who are just not cut out to be winning managers at the top level. With Frank, we just don't know. He might be or he might not be. But is this the time for us to take that risk? I'm not
sure. The problem I've got with all of this is that we are supposedly in the midst of a huge investment coming in and a majority shareholder takeover coming in. It does not make, for me, it does not make any logical sense why we would go and employ and appoint, for me, a mediocre manager in Thomas Frank when you've got this substantial amount of money coming in. If that's the case, go and get a world-class manager with world-class investment and build a world-class squad. Thomas Frank doesn't make sense for me. He's not a step forward. He's not a step backwards. He's just a step in the same direction as we're in now. He doesn't add anything. He doesn't take anything away.
But we don't know if the whole Qatar thing is real, right? We have to.
I know. And this is what I'm going based on hypotheticals. It wouldn't make any sense to appoint Thomas Frank.
Well, that's what
it just doesn't make sense.
Like if like I said, I'm going to wait until I'll give it until Monday at latest. If I wake up Monday morning and we're still in this fucking limbo shit, then I was about to say, if I'm still in this limbo shit, I am going to I'm going to go apoplectic because I think it's disrespectful. I'm not going to repeat what I've said, but if it turns out that the reason why all of this silence and limbo period is going on is because that there's about to be something imminent that's going to drop, then I'll reflect on that when I see it. But like, that's just dream world at the moment. I'll put it out in the chat. 20% of you think that there's something going on, which means 80% don't. And I respect the chat. I think that you're all probably leaning towards it's just Tottenham being fucking difficult Tottenham and disappointing Tottenham. And so, yeah, Josh, welcome to the show, by the way, mate. But like, it's good to see you again.
Yeah,
mate.
cheers. Cheers for having me on, mate.
No worries, buddy. I just at the moment, not knowing anything else, we have to work on the presumption that there isn't anything going on in that world, and that it's just that they can't make their mind up around what they want to do with Ange. And if I'm entirely honest, I think that Michael said this at the start. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're at the point where you just tell me what we're doing either way, and I'll get on board it. And I'm kind of the same. I also think that part of me wants to know whether Ange is a fucking fraud or he's the real deal. Because right now, when I look at the season that's just happened, where the Premier League tells one story, which is absolutely catastrophic, and the Europa League tells another story, which is absolutely heroic, and he's getting away with this notion with more than half of the fan base that were all Ange out 2 weeks ago that are now Ange in. And they're all saying, he gave us the best trophy. He told you. I told you. They didn't listen. I fucking listened. I listened to everything you said. I've listed out the 20 things that you said that were a load of fucking bollocks or double talk. I think you're a bullshit artist. I think you're a fucking fraud who got incredibly lucky, and you knew that when your job was on the line, that it mattered more to you and your reputation to throw your whole philosophy out the window, which is why I say he didn't deprioritize the league. He deprioritized his philosophy. And to me, I almost want this story to play out so that the world, including myself, can know for sure whether this guy is a fucking giant fraud or who got lucky, or whether he is the real deal. And not knowing that, if he fucks off into the sunset saying, I did what Conte couldn't do, I did what Mourinho couldn't do, I did all these things, and there's nothing you can currently say to him that can challenge that, I kind of want to know, because I think he's a fraud that got lucky, not the most successful manager. Well, he is the most successful manager.
Whether you consider him a fraud or not, it doesn't take away from the fact he's given us the first trophy we've had since 2008, and it isn't a domestic; it's a European trophy. Yeah, they're harder to win than domestics.
I've had this debate, Josh. No, it's not harder to win. The standard of Europa League level is lower than the top half of the Premier League. Not one of those teams, apart from maybe Frankfurt,
and Poch couldn't win the Europa League.
Sorry,
Poch couldn't win the Europa League. Even that's you see.
Such a shit stereo.
No. I'm just into Ian. He just contradicted himself. Poch couldn't win it.
Yeah, but mate, when Poch was playing, he
reached the final of the Champions League with no backing for a year and a half.
That doesn't matter. He still couldn't win.
No, it doesn't matter. Of course, it doesn't matter, Dietrich. You know,
it doesn't matter.
Poch does something brilliant. Got us kicking way above our level, and you're saying it doesn't matter. We reached.
It doesn't matter because we didn't. At the end of the day, where's the silverware?
And you dismiss it.
Where's the trophies?
Oh, come on,
Ian, where's the trophies?
Poch had the best starting 11 in the league, and he didn't win.
He bottled the league. He bottled the FA Cup. The League Cup.
See, Lobo, no offense, Lobo. This is why I take everything you say with a pinch of salt, mate. Because ever since we had that bad run of form, you've had a hard on for Ange out. That's the reality. You had nothing positive to say about him since we had a bad run of form. He's just won us a European trophy.
Yes,
like you don't win that based on sheer luck. You win that based on putting all your eggs into the basket and playing the cards that you've been dealt. He's gone out and he's won a trophy, Ian. But there's not much more you can ask for from a manager. We said we wanted a manager to come and win trophies.
Hang on, Josh. There is more you can ask from a manager, and that is to not lose a string of games that in any other season would have had you relegated.
Yeah.
But at which point we were already safe. When it came to the crunch, Ange knew he was safe and put all of his eggs in one basket. He disregarded the league, and he put all of his eggs in one basket and went for Europe, and we won Europe.
Are we fucking Wigan that somehow fluked itself into Europa League, that we accept 22 losses in a season? Sorry, but like for me, like there is no defending catch on the league part, right? I don't care if he's.
I'm not defending it. I'm not defending his league form at all. I'm defending what the guy's accomplished at the club.
No, I appreciate
our worst league performance in the history of the Premier League.
It's the worst league performance since 1978. It's the worst league performance since 1978.
So like,
and there's no excuses for that.
Right? The Europa it doesn't outweigh the league performance, right? We appreciate that he won the cup, right? But he also gave us the worst fucking year of my life supporting this club, right? Like, I was borderline depressed watching this club. Like, I was purposefully missing matches this season, right?
You know what, mate? Spot on, Michael.
Getting abused sexually on the pitch. sorry, but that.
I'm glad you said it in that order, because if you said it the other way around, I was getting demonetized immediately.
I was about to say that escalated quickly.
That 5-1 that we received at Anfield, right? This was the worst match I have ever watched of this club, right? We got bent over, and like I don't want to finish the sentence, right? Because Sean
to me, that's fine. Right? Michael, I think what you're saying, 100%, I get your point, mate. And listen, I think it's worth noting, right, that I could talk from the perspective. I could talk from the perspective of like a season ticket holder who, when he hears that he's had to pay 1,500 quid for a season ticket, and then every cup game he has to pay the additional money. And Lubo, you know this pain, right? I don't know if the other guys have got to go to the games, mate, very much. But like, to be told after the fact that the Premier League didn't matter and it was all in the league in the cup basket, then personally, I feel like on that basis, next season they should throw all of the league games into the season ticket bucket, because I don't want to have to like pay up front for a ticket that's been deprioritized and then have to pay extra for what are the priorities of the club. That's not okay with me. But on top of that, to your point, Michael, we are Tottenham, we're not Wigan, and this squad that he's essentially saying, like, he might say, well, all of the priority was in the cup, but you built this squad. And what you're saying is that the rotation squad isn't good enough to be able to figure out the complexities of the Premier League. But this is a squad that you built. I mean, even if you weren't the guys that were identifying the talent, you were the guy that said that no one plays in my squad that I haven't approved. So if we're supposed to take him on his word, like we're asked to when it comes to I told them that they didn't listen, then why is it okay for him to deprioritize when it wasn't like he inherited the squad 5 minutes ago? He's put 15 of the 25 players that are in this squad. He approved, he bought, he wanted. And then sit there and say that we're not good enough to beat Ipswich.
Sean, that's why
fucking outrage, to be honest.
But let's be honest.
That's where I'm gonna sort of interject there, because I don't necessarily think there is a manager in a position in any club that will come out and say, "Oh, I didn't approve this player, I didn't approve that player." They're not going to come out and say that. They're not going to cause uncertainty unless you're someone like Antonio Conte, who is not afraid to speak their mind. No other manager's done that. Let's be honest. And Andy's going to come out and say, "Oh, I didn't ask for him. I didn't ask for him." He's just going to accept it. He's going to be a yes man.
Actually, I don't pick and choose when to believe him. I just don't believe him. Once I figured that out, once I walked through that window, mate, you can't walk back. Sorry, Eugene, you were about to say something, mate. Sorry,
I'm saying if you look at the summer, we lowered our wage bill, and the only player we signed for the starting 11 was Solanke, right? After we had a really bad finish to the previous season. So I really doubt that Ange looked at our form when we barely finished fifth and said, sign me some 18-year-olds. I don't need senior players. So we know how business is done at this club. I don't think any manager has a full say on transfers. So from that perspective, I don't think it's fair to say like, well, those are all Ange's players, especially when we got the wage bill. And yes, I agree with Michael. The league form is unacceptable. We're not Wigan. I was one of the people in the beginning of the year, among many others, who said, I'm okay finishing 17th if we get a trophy for one season.
Never again.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be honest and say I said that. However,
so did I, by the way.
When I flew to London with my son to watch a game for the Forest game, that was the worst game I've ever seen live. So I'm sitting at the stadium. I'm talking to my son. I'm like, you know what? Now I understand what Johnny and Lubo are saying. This is a disaster. Watching this team live every game is shocking. So I understand.
Eugene,
I understand it from that perspective. But on the other hand, when we say, sorry, just one last thing, Lubo, when you said, you want the club to kick on and you have these expectations. So I think that's what we need to talk about, because everybody has different expectations. We know that no manager since Poch, even Poch, can compete even on two fronts. So whether it's Frank or whoever else, we might finish top 6, but that means no trophies, right? That means maybe semifinal of a cup. But if we want us truly to compete on multiple fronts and challenge, then it's not a manager issue. And to what Sean was saying, we still don't know if Ange is a fraud or not. We think he is, but
does part of you want to figure that out, Eugene? Just part.
I do. Actually, I do.
By the way, the word fraud, just quickly. The word fraud.
Not fraud.
I don't. When I said fraud, I didn't mean like he's just a phony. I just meant like I want to know whether or not
he's a liar, basically.
Well, no, it's not a liar. I think he believes his own bullshit. But
he's lying.
I think he's a bullshit artist. I think he is. I don't think he's tactically adept enough. I don't think he has enough aces up his sleeve. I don't think he has enough of anything. But all that said, by the way, I still maintain that unless you show me better, I'm not someone that wants to like. If the problem is Ange Postecoglou, the solution is not Ange out, right? The solution is someone else in. And until I know who that is, then I'm still like, okay, I'd still rather not risk the disruption of breaking up the continuity, especially when you hear all of the players come out and say that they love him and they back him. And so I still need to know what's better before I'm like Ange out unconditionally.
That's another thing.
Part of me feels like if the story finishes here, I will feel unsatisfied because I don't know whether he was really the guy or whether he got lucky.
Sean, let's be fair on one thing. On one thing quickly. Of course, the players are going to say, yeah, we're happy, we like him and stuff. Let's say he's here next season. I imagine they said the complete opposite. They would be fucked. So they have to praise him. They have to praise him. They have to be there for him. Like, I've never seen a player say, oh, this match is terrible. Like, it never happens.
That's true.
They say that they get fucked off.
No, there was rebellion. United, right? Ben Davies went to Levy, right? Under Nuno.
Yeah, but those are reports. That's not a true. We don't know.
Yeah, but at least reports, right? There have been reports under Jose. That's the reason why he was sacked, because he lost the.
Yeah, but they didn't. It's not like they went to media and said, like, it's not like Davies went to Sky Sports and said this fucking Nuno fraud. He's like, useless. Get him sacked, right, or something like that. It's more behind the doors, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if like. Some of the leadership group went behind the door and in general.
And on the field.
Don't leave the guy is a fraud, like get him sacked. And he was like, no, I'm not, right? But it could be Dietrich's, right? Because like with what Eugene said, you took your son and you visited the stadium, right? And you witnessed a loss, right? And I had the similar story today, right? This season, I watched my first match live, right? First ever Spurs match live, right? I took my brother for his 18th birthday, right? I organized the whole trip. We met Ian, right? Like, I had a lovely time meeting all of you guys, right? Stel and Alex and all the other guys, right? But it was just pure coincidence and statistical, like, lack on my part that I didn't witness us getting, like, abused on the pitch, as I said, right? It was pure coincidence that the match I chose was 2-2 against Bournemouth, right? Where, let's be honest, we should have lost that match, and we basically scored a penalty and a cross that was a goal that was supposed to be a cross, right? So, like, I honestly, this manager, right? I had this whole trip planned for a year, right? Pretty much. I knew that March, 2025, I'm taking my brother, 18th birthday, I'm going to London, right? We are going to watch a match, right? This manager had me rethink that plan and whether this is actually a good present, right, for my brother for his 18th birthday, right? Because I wasn't sure whether taking him all the way to England, right? And watching him as like lose a match is actually a good present, right? I was considering, moving the whole match watching experience to next season in hope at that point that Ange is sacked, right? This is how this manager got me feeling for the whole season up until the last dying minutes of the season where he won the cup, right? Like, it's like, I think that's something that people are missing, right? That so many people just forgot about a year of misery, right? And now they flip-flopped back to Ange in, right?
Michael, you are absolutely spot on, mate. I watch football. I love football because for 1 day a week or 2 days a week, I get to be excited about a game. I know I talk about Tottenham every day, but like I fell in love with football because it's a distraction from your life. I guess a lot of people that are watching this have got fucking shit going on in their world, whatever it is, right? You've got problems with your kids, problems with your parents, problems with your wife, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, your boss, right? You can't pay your bills, inflation's pissing you off. All that shit's rattling around your head. It wakes you up every night. And then you wake up on a Saturday or a Sunday and you go, fucking yes, Tottenham are playing. I get 90 minutes where I haven't got to think about my shit, and I get to live my emotions can exist vicariously through someone else's success or failure, which is all you're doing, by the way. You're participating in other people's success or failure. Yeah. And it's nice, though. It's a distraction from the shit you've got going on. And this season, for about 7.5 months, it was fucking shit. So, Michael, you are spot the fuck on. Let's not forget that, because people that say I'll finish 17th and win a trophy, what you're really saying is I'll fucking hate 7 months of the season in the hope that the last couple of weeks of it give me something to enjoy. And it's a moment of someone else's success that you are a somewhat largely irrelevant observer of. But in the 7 months before, you've had a shit time. And this season, we've walked away 75% of the time unhappy.
Yeah.
I think something you said earlier on, Sean, was spot on as well. It's not a case of we should be focusing on Ange out. We should be focusing about who we bring in as a replacement. And for me, I don't necessarily think there is a manager available right now that I think A, would come in realistically, and 2, could do a better job, given that the investment into the squad has been very minimal when you look at it over the course of, in comparison to the other big teams in the league. And also another thing that I wanted to touch on as well is if Ange can accept that he was wrong in his philosophy and instill the same kind of tactics he instilled in that final, where the main argument throughout the course of the season was he doesn't have a plan B, he makes substitutions too early. In that final, he did the right thing. When he knew that he was under attack all the time, he did a 5 at the back. We haven't seen him do that yet, and for the most part, that paid off. If he can start doing that and he can tactically change himself up, then I feel if he's got the right squad and the right squad depth, he could do something with Tottenham long term. Do I realistically see that happening? No, I don't. I think he's gone. I think he's been sacked. But that's just my opinion. But for now, it's a case of who do you realistically bring in? It's all well and good throwing names out like Xavi, but who's going to go and pay? He's likely to go and pay the money that he's going to want, very undoubtedly. I doubt that's a realistic appointment. He will probably go for someone like
Lubo, you awake?
No, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm spot on. I listen. It's fine. Josh,
I was seeing a scowl come across your face. I was like, you were
absolutely fine. I'm wide up. It's all very well, Josh coming in, shouting and screaming like he did. But when you've looked at it, it's fine. Yes, Ange got it right on the final. He got it right in Frankfurt, and he got it right in Bodo. But he had 101 games in 2 seasons, and he got it right in virtually in hardly any, a handful.
He got it right in Europe. He got it right in Europe. No, if that same tactic works in the league,
from Frankfurt away onwards. Let's be honest.
If he instilled the same tactics,
gosh, I was in Alkmaar. I went to Holland. It was the worst performance of the season when we lost 1-0. It was a disgrace. The players didn't give anything. There was nothing. There was no passion, no intensity. You want to hear what the hardcore away fans in Alkmaar were saying. It was fucking disgusting. So please don't tell me he got it right in Europe. He didn't get it right in Europe. And let's all be honest with each other. He didn't have Maddison, Kulu, or Berghvall. His hands were tied. The only way he was going to win that game was to shithouse his way through with 3 runners, 3 aggressive players in midfield and defend. And I don't care how we get there. It didn't matter. We had 1 shot on target in 99 minutes. We had 112 passes. That was it. We had 27% possession. The stats were disgraceful, but we won, and that's all that matters.
Exactly, that is all that matters. He shithoused his way. But if shithousing your way to win games is the key to success, would you rather not see him do that than set his team up to fail?
Josh, against a shit United team, right? We got through. Just if it wasn't for Micky van der Ven's amazing clearance and that great save at the end from Vicario, we would have been beaten. Let's not kid ourselves.
Moments like that happen in every single game of football more often than not, though. Let's not beat around the bush here. What Ange did in the final was different to what we've seen him do throughout the entire time at Tottenham. What he did is he changed tactics. He changed the formation. We haven't seen him do that. If he does that in the league and it pays off, and he admits that his philosophies that he's trying to instill are wrong, and that there is some adaptability and there is some way that you can be more versatile with the squad that you've got, then surely there's got to be a way forward.
He's never going to change. He even said it.
But also, we had 27% possession, 100 passes, and 3 shots, 1 on goal in that final. Right? It's not going to work in the league. Like if we play like that,
could pass or shoot where nobody. Like
and we don't have clinical players.
They're not technical players. They cannot really pass.
We employed a similar tactic, but we had Harry fucking Kane, right? Under Conte and Jose, right? That's much different playing with Kane and Prime Son rather than what is happening right now, right? Like I am that serious. This approach that he had in Europe will not and will never work in the league, right? With this crop of players that
when you are without your key players, 100%, that's a valid argument. 100%.
Even with Maddison, it won't work, right? He parked the bus, 11 people behind the
ball. There were 3 key players missing. There was no Maddison, there was no Berghvall, and there was no Kulusevski. 3 key players that are detrimental to the way that we attack. They are detrimental.
That's not true.
It is true.
Josh, Kulu's been awful for months. Let's be honest. He's been dreadful.
Kulu's been. Are you living on the same planet as I am?
No, yes, I am. I don't think you're on the same planet as all of us. To be honest, the way you've come on today, you genuinely, it's like the whole of the league season doesn't exist. Kulu had a brilliant
I've accepted that 17th in the league is not good enough. But when you look at what he did, his hands were tied. He knew that his best opportunity for winning a trophy was Europe. He put all of his eggs into one basket. He played the best possible team. He won us a trophy. For me, that is a successful season. When you win a trophy, that is a successful season.
Yes, he got away with it.
I hate that argument that a trophy.
No, he had a success. No, he had a successful cup. But he did not have a successful season because the season is based on the league, and the league, what it's done is unacceptable.
But you fix 5 years from now, when we're going to look back at this season, we'll all forget about the losses. We'll be like, yeah.
Oh, we'll never forget about what he honestly, I'm a person that never gets depressed. That's the only year I've been depressed. I've watched Spurs.
Stellini, I was depressed too, but
under Stellini was better than the crap we were watching. It was better than the crap.
I stopped watching games under Stellini, first time ever. It was bad under Mason, so it's not the first
Mason,
time.
It was a lot better than this crap than what Ange showed me.
So let's say it going into the new season, because if Ange hasn't gone, realistically, he's going to be here until he gets sacked. Right? That's the realistic perspective here. If he goes into next season and he hits the ground running and we have a brilliant season, will you forgive him for this season if he can prove going forward that he can change and he can adapt? And there is possibility that we can do well with the squad under him.
Because I have 2 years of data that show me that will not happen, and I don't want to give him the chance.
If he's here and for the Super Cup, and we win the Super Cup, I asked this question earlier. I should have put it out in a poll. I think I did it a poll for a few days ago, but I'll ask you guys again. Everyone in the chat, smash a 1 for if you were I'll tell you the question first. If Ange is still here August the 12th or 13th, whenever it is, and we win the Super Cup, does that change your opinion? And everyone should get on board the fact that he can do it. And if he gets absolutely tanked by PSG, if you're Ange out, does that change your? Does that mean if you're Ange in and we get tanked, does that mean that you are? So you put. How do I fucking? There's two.
Just yes or no.
Two questions in one.
Just yes or no. Just yes
Yes
or
or
no.
no.
And figure out whether he wins or not.
Yes or no. Will your opinion shift based on the performance in the Super Cup final? There you go. Thank you, boys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Super
relevant.
Yes, yeah, go on, Dishik.
No, yeah, I'm just saying the Super Cup, if he wins it or not, couldn't care less. He needs to go. I don't want to wait until August for him to stay until August and give him the chance to play the Super Cup.
For me, Super Cup is just a one-off game, right? Like a lot of shit can happen in a one-off game, right? Like one of the PSG players can have a bozo moment, foul one of our players in third minute into the game, get a red card, and we win 1-0, right? Like, should I base my opinion? Same thing with the Europa League final, right? I'm not basing my opinion on Ange on 90 minutes of football, right? I have 2 years of data that have proven to me that he's not a good manager, right? In the league season, right? Like, I appreciate the fact that he won the trophy, right? I was shit-faced on that Wednesday, right? Like, I got myself so drunk sitting here in this place, right? That I had hangover until 6 p.m. next day, right? I was like,
I barely made the game, mate. I barely made the game. Tuesday night, I got so fucked. I was hugging the toilet all Wednesday morning.
Mate, I was so happy when we won.
So you didn't watch the game, Sean?
No, I didn't enjoy it, and I will never forgive myself for what I got up to on Tuesday night, and it was the last time I will ever engage. Ever participate in that sort of level of debauchery, because I almost missed the best night ever. And even though I was there, I wasn't really there. I was the whole time I was.
Sean,
your body is there, but the soul is fucking.
I will never forgive myself. I will never forgive myself, and I will never let it happen again.
What happened?
But guys, I don't think anybody here. I don't think anybody here. Michael, to your point, I don't think anybody's arguing that Ange is a good coach.
I wanted to make. I wanted to make a conclusion, right? So I won't base my opinion on Ange on 90 minutes of football, right? But if he's the manager next season, right? And in this like magical scenario that you gave us, Josh, right? When he smashes it, right? And he's like, third by Christmas or something like that, right? Then I will have data that actually backs him as a manager and proves to me that like he's a capable manager, right? Like, but it's something that hasn't happened yet, right? So I can't make my decision on an imaginary scenario, right? I have to see it happen. So until it happens, I'm Ange out, right? Because I have 2 years of evidence that he's a shit manager, right?
For me, the form that we've gone on is based on the fact that I don't feel as if the investment has been of a standard enough to fully back a manager, so to speak. When you've got 250,000 fans sitting there cheering Tottenham, giving their all to everyone at the parade, Levy's got to see that and understand what he's got. And let's go based on the assumption that Levy is still going to be here come the start of the season, right? He can't afford not to invest heavily into this squad. He cannot afford it. If he goes out and we sign the likes of Leroy Sané, and he goes out and he signs another striker, he goes and signs another midfielder, another defender, a world-class midfielder, let's say a world-class defender. That's based on this knowledge that apparently Christian Romero is on his way out. If we go and sign a world-class defender, and we go and we pump heavily into this squad, and you give Ange the facilities to field a team that is competent of genuinely challenging for stuff, I feel as if Ange can do something. But you've got to have the right players for the right mindset, for the right tactic. It's the same with any manager. It's the same with any manager. This is what, for me, when we're talking about Thomas Frank, I'm going way back into the conversation here. When we're talking about Thomas Frank being appointed.
Cheers, Dietrich. Appreciate you, mate. Nice. Thanks for coming on, buddy. Nice to meet you, man.
When we're having love you, Ian.
See you, mate.
When we're having this conversation about Thomas Frank being appointed, for me, Thomas Frank's a yes man. there's nothing that he has done in the Premier League that says to me he's going to be the best appointment for Tottenham. There's no other manager realistically, there's no other manager I can say realistically would come in and do a better job. Because we don't have. We've had world-class managers that have come in and done, and that they've been fouled by the board. So what can say that this isn't a case of Ange has been fouled by the board?
Josh, you don't follow what goes on with Tottenham, do you? You really don't follow.
In what sense?
Number one, he has had more to spend, Ange, than Conte, Mourinho, Poch. The guy's had 400 million in under 2 years.
And how much realistically do you think is Ange's appointment? How much of that money do you think
hang on, Josh, 1 second, mate. Let Lubo make his overarching point, and then you can come back in.
Right. No, I'll answer that Josh has just asked. Ange has actually said that nobody comes in unless he signs off. Now, he has had all the players, starting with Maddison and Van der Ven, from then onwards. I don't go with the fact that he signed Kulu. Kulu had been in the club 18 months before, and that was going through anyway. But he has brought in 17 players. He hasn't brought in a proper six. We are wide open at the back. He plays two at the back. I asked David Pleat what he thought of the way Ange plays, and he sort of rolled his eyes and said, well, it gives Cutie and Micky an awful lot of ground to cover. They got the whole width of the pitch. Let me just tell you, Josh, where I am on Postecoglou. I thought it was very good that he was very innovative. He came in with playing the way he did. He got away with it for 10 games. He surprised everybody. We had a most fantastic start. Then everybody started sussing us out, and the form since then has dropped. And since the first 10 games, we have lost 34 out of 66 league games. This isn't something that's just happened since Ange realised that we were safe from relegation. These defeats, constant defeats, have been going on since November the 6th, 2023, when we got stuffed 4-1 by Chelsea. Now, you just look at all the other bits and pieces. Let me just give you a few examples, and let me tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Ange's very good up to a certain level. He's very good up to a certain level. He's great at the Australian, Japan, Scottish leagues, and he's won a Europa League, which for me is a better achievement than any of the previous ones he's had. But all these teams are lower level. They're not top half Premier teams that we played this year, apart from maybe Frankfurt. And Frankfurt away, I think, was our best performance. I thought the performance in Bilbao was absolutely shocking, but we did enough and we got through, and that's all that counts. So if you're looking at his form against the top 10 clubs, was 1-4, drew 2, lost 14. This isn't just this season. Last season as well, I think we've won 6 games against top six teams. Our record against the top clubs is absolutely dreadful. Right, the system, we are wide open. We get ripped to pieces most league games. Vicario's missed 3 months, I think. He's faced more shots than any other goalkeeper this season in the Premier League. We were giving away 20, 23, 25 shots every single game. Now, you watch the games as much as I do, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm just building a picture. You can't just say he's done great in 3 games. We weren't great in the group stages, let's face it. Karabag, okay, we should have beaten. Thought it was a good result because we were down to 10 men after 6 minutes. Ferencváros, we got away with it. Roma played us off the park. Rangers played us off the park. Alkmaar, we just about won. Thank God Mikey Moore came on with that cameo. And at the end of that 15-minute spell, Richie got the penalty. Otherwise, we wouldn't have beaten them there. We were shocking against Alkmaar in the first leg. After that, we did okay. But for me, you look at the 2 years, take out the first 10 games that were very, very good. Can't complain, 26 out of 30, best ever 10 games ever. Beat Mourinho's 23 out of 30. But we've been sliding down and down. First 19 games, 36 points. Next 19 games, 30 points. This season, first 19 games, 24 points. Next 19 games, 14 points. Now, if Newcastle can win a cup and beat Brentford, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea on their way to the Carabao Cup and finish 5th, and Chelsea can win a cup, win the conference and finish 4th, I don't see why we have to finish 17th why it's okay for us to finish 17th and win a cup. The season's not defined by our league position this year because we won the trophy and we achieved our aims. But I'm now talking about going forward. How do we go forward? Do we honestly think, Ange stands with his hands in his pockets, not changing situations when game situations go against us? He just stands there. There's no changing. If you remember Mourinho in the Champions League game, 2-0 down to Olympiacos, he hooked Dyer after 28 minutes, changed the team around, and we ended up winning 4-2. You'd never see Ange doing that. If you remember last season in the Champions League semi-final, Real Madrid played Bayern Munich, Ancelotti and Tuchel, it was a game of chess tactically. They were making substitutions, tweaking the system, and the other one would counteract it. Ange is just not in that league. He's nowhere to be seen when it comes to these sort of tactical changes.
Sorry, Johnny.
Just to finish off, I'm not saying anything that none of us don't know. I'm no amazing coach. We've all seen it. We're all football fans. We can all see it in front of our eyes. But we had a great little run towards the end of the season. We won a European trophy. We got the monkey off our shoulder, off our back. We needed a trophy desperately. But if you think, Josh, that players are going to come, Sane said no to us. Colin Moani in January said no to us.
Cardoso said no to us.
Cardoso said no to us. Gomez said no to us.
That's a fucking disgrace, by the way. That's a fucking... Johnny Cardoso says no to us, and we end up losing out on all that money. And by the way, if that's true... Sorry, I'm going to bring Josh in. I'll let Josh respond. Before I do, I'm going to come to this super chat. Josh, remember everything that Ian's just said, because I want you to come back on him.
Yeah,
I also want Mike.
Good luck with that, mate.
Well. Quickly, if the Johnny Cardoso is that story's true, that Daniel Levy or whoever it was that wrote that contract, didn't realize in the small print that if he rejects us, we don't get anything, and we ended up selling Lo Celso for $3 million. Then that is another nail in the coffin of Daniel Levy as a business guy. I don't think it is true. I hope it isn't. But if it is, then that's fucking embarrassing. Zane Wade, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Why didn't Ange get sacked at 13, 14, 15 losses? If as fans, our standards are so high for the Premier League, why did Ange get a chance to go for the Europa? Well, I'll just answer from my perspective. I said that I was basically Ange out by December based on what was going on. But I thought that it was only right that he should be allowed to finish the cup story because he was never going to win the Premier League. But that doesn't mean that 17th is acceptable. Michael, Josh, before I bring you back in to go after Lubo and his comments, do you want to answer that question as well, Michael? And then I'll let Josh come back in against Lubo's points. Yeah,
the super chat, right?
Yeah.
But listen, it wasn't up to us fans to sack him, right? Like. Trust me, if it was up to me, he would be gone by December, right? I said it clearly. I was trying to defend him until Ipswich at home, right? When we lost Ipswich at home, I said that he has lost my trust completely, right? And I'm going to give him a little buffer of next 3 to 4 games to prove to me that he changes and to prove to me that he actually adapts, right? Because at the beginning of the season, I said he has to adapt, right? He has to adapt. He didn't adapt, right? After Ipswich, I said, right, that he has to now change or I'm out, right? And ironically, we won 4-0 at City next game after Ipswich, right? But then after that, it was a shit show, right? So I said in December, for me, he deserves to be sacked in December. And if it was up to me, right, my standard is that this team, the size of the team that we are, doesn't lose fucking 22 games in a season, right? No team does. No big team loses 22 games, right? Not even a medium team loses 22 games in a season, right? Brentford doesn't lose 22 games in a season. Fulham doesn't, right? I'm not counting the seasons where they dropped. No one does. We are the first team to lose 22 and not get relegated, right? I seriously, people forgot how fucking dreadful this season was, right?
Yeah. Cognitive dissonance, right?
As I said, and by the way, because the standard, right? It's not even about the standard. It's about some human decency, right? It's not the standard. My preferable standard would be to lose like 6 in a season, right? Not 22. Like, so if
Yeah,
it was
I hear you, mate.
it would
I hear
be done
you.
by December, right? But it wasn't me making the decision. It was the board, the director of football, and all these other guys, right?
Was
So
Daniel
they
Levy
decided
right?
not
Was
to.
Daniel Levy right to keep hold of him?
For me, no. Like, again, like, also I really want to combat the notion that Ange was the only person that could win us this trophy, right? You are telling me if we got a competent manager in January that he couldn't win that trophy, right? I'm not saying he would, right? Because we never know. It didn't happen, so we won't know, right? But if he got a competent manager in January, this manager could have won the cup and did do better in the league, right? He didn't.
Right.
We didn't sack Ange, right? And he won the cup. So kudos to Levy, right? But if Ange didn't win that cup, right? Can you imagine like how the whole outlook of the club would be, right? We would have lost 22 games in a season, lost the final to Manchester United, right? Get abused by Liverpool in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, right? Worst season points-wise in like 50 years, right? Worst points per game in the history of the club, in the fucking history of the club. Like 140 years, right? How much exactly is this? 143, right? Or
143 years we've been going.
143 years of
points per game.
Club,
It's
right?
our worst ever league season.
Worst ever in 143 years, right? 143 years ago, my predecessors were French, not Polish, right?
But right. Levy took a massive risk with the short-term future of our club. Yeah. But he got lucky, he got away with it. You can't say that he didn't. By backing Ange, he got away with it because Ange won the trophy. So facts are facts.
But that is the motto of the club, right? Alder es Vicario, right?
So it was a hell of a risk because if we'd have lost, would have been 17th, no trophies, out of Europe, falling further and further.
Yeah, and none of the draw that Man United have got.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I agree. Josh, just quickly before I come to you, Darren Jackson has said, "Sean, you're making a tit of yourself." I don't think I've really spoken for the last hour, mate. To be entirely honest, I've just been chaperoning. What exactly have I said that makes a tit out of myself? But fill me in. I mean, I know I am a tit, but like, get out. Josh, you heard Lubo's rebuttal to your rebuttal. It's time for your re-rebuttal.
Yeah, so I'm not going to sit here. You've got the stats. You're a highly intelligent person. You've got the stats in front of you. You know that's factual. I can't take away from statistics, and I'm not going to sit here and deny it. It got to a point in the league where I was watching how he played and how he performed, and I genuinely, at one point or another, I gave up watching. That's how I felt. I genuinely gave up watching Tottenham because it made me feel upset. It made me feel depressed. And do you know what? Seeing the Spurs fan base in meltdown, it genuinely upset me. So I stopped watching for a little while. But then we started to gain traction a little bit, and we started to get these results in Europe. And then we won the semis, and then we got to the final when, for once in a long time, there was hope again. There was this feeling of hope that was instilled in this fan base, and it was such a wonderful thing to see. There were still fans that were writing us off. Don't get me wrong. There were people that said, "Oh, we're never going to beat United in the final," despite the fact we'd already beaten them 3 times this season. But that's neither here nor there. People were saying we're never going to win this final. So when we did win, it brought the fan base together, and for the first time since 2008, the fan base was unified in celebrating something that hasn't been done by any manager since 2008, since One Day Ramos. Now, if we're talking about fraudulent managers, One Day Ramos for me was a fraudulent manager. That's my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and deny that our form in the league was terrible. It's the worst run of form in the league since 1978. Since we finished, at which time it was Division 1, and I think we finished something like 22nd or something along those lines.
We did.
For me, the most important thing is the success. Is to be successful in the future. Now, for me, the idea of success would be our chairman actively seeing what he has in front of him, knowing what could potentially happen if a manager is correctly and efficiently backed and supported. I'm not talking about spending £400 million on players and that being a successful backing. It's about the calibre of player you bring in. It's about what names you bring in. If any manager, it's not just Ange, if any manager comes to you and says, I want this player, your duty as a chairman is to ensure you get a player of that calibre or someone of significant equity. But let's not forget, this is the same chairman that when Poch was brought in, Poch wanted to bring Morgan Schneidlin with him. Daniel Levy brought in Benjamin Stambouli as a like for like. Let's not forget that we know the kind of business that Daniel Levy has done previously. We could go into this. I could have this argument with you again about Daniel Levy is a great businessman, but we know that that's all swings and roundabouts, and we're going to go back and forth on that one. But Daniel Levy has got an opportunity here to build on something. If he sufficiently and effectively backs Ange, or any manager for that matter, there is absolutely no reason on God's green earth why we can't have a good run of form. If we have a good run of form, there is no reason why a manager can't stay at the helm for 5, 10, 15 years to come. Do I think Ange can do that? The jury's still out there. But again, at the moment, going based on current statistics that we have, I don't think there is a manager that will come in and do an even better job than what Ange has got, given who we've got as a chairman. A fish rots from the head down. If Levy changes his antics and sufficiently backs a manager that comes in, there's no reason why history can't change itself. That's my argument to that. I don't disregard anything that you've just said. I want what is best for the club.
Do you honestly think, and you know where I stand as far as Levy's concerned, do you honestly think after 25 years that he's going to change the way he operates?
I think after seeing 250,000 fans in the streets cheering, celebrating and being unified for once, knowing that all the negativity that gets thrown his way week in, week out, inside the ground, there was still a select minority that was still throwing abuse at Levy. But in my opinion, the parade wasn't the time to do that. The parade was the time to celebrate what the squad's accomplished and what Ange's accomplished. Something that a manager hasn't done since 2008. If Levy was a smart man and actually cared about the football club, which for me, I don't think he does, but the jury's still out. If he was smart and he genuinely cared about the future of the football club, he would sufficiently back any manager that comes in through the door, whether it's Ange, whether it's Xavi, whether it's Frank, whether it's Nagelsmann. I'm just throwing names out there at this point. But it doesn't matter who it is, as long as they are effectively backed and they come at Levy with a list of names and Levy does his best to go and get those names and not put any and stops playing Levy hardball when it comes to negotiations, there is no reason why any manager that comes in through the door can't be successful at this club. There's no reason for it. But that's going based on Levy still being here. I personally believe there is something I think the reason for the radio silence is there is something in the pipeworks that will lead to Levy being pushed out, but that's neither here nor there. That's yet to be seen. As for the right now, Levy's got to be smart. Levy's got to back a manager. He's got to do it effectively.
He's not going to do it, Josh. 25 years shows you that. At the end of the day, when
we haven't won a European trophy in 25 years, Ian, and we've not had 250,000 fans in the street in 25 years.
Fine.
There was no reason for him not to do that.
But hang on 1 second. We're talking about let's talk about you can't build a club. A club's got to be built with proper foundations.
Ian, sorry, quickly. It's after midnight that I have to go. I overstayed my welcome. Sorry, guys. Continue.
Cheers, Michael, mate. Love you, man. Thanks for coming on, buddy. See you soon, boss.
Bye bye.
Josh, you can't just say 3 or 4 games and it was fantastic. Bilbao, it sort of pushed Amsterdam down in my list of memories of great days that I've had with Tottenham, and it was something that will never be forgotten. My son and I had a selfie with Vicario on the side of the pitch. We had an amazing night. And for that, I'll always thank Ange. But the club that I know, that I've grown up watching, which has been, it's not been a league club. We've only won the league twice, and that was before I started watching in our history. But we've had a chairman who have backed managers in the past. And I'm going back into the last century, obviously, because Enoch had been here since 2000. We've had great players. We've had, Spurs went and beat Ferguson to Gascoigne. We went and got Klinsmann in '94. We went and got Teddy. Hoddle came through. Perriman came through. Kane. We've had some fantastic homegrown players. You look at Greaves, Chivers, Peters, Perryman. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Ardiles, Gascoigne was phenomenal. We had some great players. ENIC have come in and they've dumbed it down. They were quite open. They put in writing that they saw football as an opportunity to make money. You know, the Sky money has increased massively since ENIC came in. So if you've got half a brain as a businessman, you know, you've got to look at it, and you're going to make money. You're going to build the club. You know, it's only through poor business decisions that people like Everton have not built and have not come up the way. You know, they were a Big Five club like us in the 80s. But all Levy is interested in is profit, and it's profit before glory. Now, you know, I've heard people say, oh, you said, oh, he's a brilliant businessman. Well,
he is a brilliant businessman. He is a brilliant businessman.
But you've got to judge him as chairman.
We're going to get into I'm just about to pivot over to Levy out, but if you're about to say something that's going to wind me up, then I'm going to fucking debate you.
No. You've got to, Sean, if you're judging him as a businessman, then you've got to judge him for the whole thing. The whole thing, because this is a football club. You can't just say it's a football club. I'm just going to judge him on what he does on non-footballing activities. You've got to judge him on the football as well.
As a businessman, he is the best chairman. What other chairman? In fact, name me a chairman in this Premier League. You know what? I could probably name me three Premier League chairmen that that's better than Daniel Levy, that doesn't come with incredible advantages that a normal businessman doesn't have.
Before you do that, Ian, let me just remind you as well. During the COVID season, when every other Premier League squad was getting handouts by the league as a parachute payment, Tottenham were one of 3 clubs in Europe that did not need that due to our infrastructure and the profits that we were making. That's a smart business move.
Josh, they put 400 million of retained profit into the grounds. But as a fan, let me ask you.
You're about to fucking talk about that bollocksy thing. He's overspending the stadium.
They made the money. They made the money. I'm not saying that's. I didn't say it's a bad thing. I said it's a good thing. They made 400 million. They put it into the grounds. But as a fan, what are you interested in? Does it make any difference to you how rich Levy is, or does it make a difference to you having nights like Bilbao?
Well, you had a night like Bilbao.
No, on a consistent basis, not every 7.
No one has it consistently, mate. No one has it consistently. Who has it consistently?
There are plenty of clubs.
Who has it consistently?
There's 5 to start with.
What, Manchester City and Chelsea have won 75% of all of the trophies that could have been won in the last 12 years. They are unique. They don't have the ceiling. The only teams that have a ceiling that are working more, Liverpool, fine, mate. But if your argument is always the exception to the rule,
no, it's not. Sean, but why?
That's the argument. It's always let's punch up, which is fair enough. But for every Liverpool you can mention, I can throw at you, would you rather David Sullivan? Would you rather Trip Smith? Would you rather Kinsky? Would you rather Blenheim? Would you rather Bloom? Would you rather?
Yes, I've got to tell you something.
You don't want a guy he's a wealthy guy with data, because if you wanted Bloom, we would be like Brighton, and what have Brighton done? If you wanted Blenheim, they haven't done anything, mate. This hatred, this passionate hatred that you have of Daniel Levy, it clouds your judgment on your opinion.
Not at all. I'm aligned up with Josh on this.
You don't think that your judgment on Daniel Levy is clouded? Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious. I told you before, Sean. The position with Levy.
Right, the poll coming out. There's a poll coming out right now.
Yeah. My argument on all of this is Daniel Levy is a terrible football chairman. He's a terrible chairman. He doesn't make the right decisions from a footballing
isn't a terrible chairman, Josh. What are you talking about, mate?
No, I think in terms of footballing decisions, Sean, there are people out there that do a lot better than him. Name
me five in the Premier League that are better than him, that don't have the advantages of Manchester City or Chelsea or Newcastle with their current system. Name me 5 chairmen that are better than Daniel Levy.
They're the ones that I were going to throw out there, the likes of the top five.
Well, they got a different set of rules. They've got a different relationship with money, mate. Let's talk about the real world. That's the real world, not the fucking people that have got more money in the ground than has ever been printed in the history of humankind. Let's talk about the real world. Daniel Levy is a fucking wealthy geezer, but he hasn't got money in the ground to print out. So, like, tell me who the 5 chairmen are that are so much better than Daniel Levy that makes Daniel Levy, as you called it, Josh, a terrible chairman.
But I think when I say terrible chairman, I'm talking about footballing decisions. I'm talking about the signings, getting involved in negotiations, etc., etc. Not putting the profits that have been made by the club from the footballing perspective back into the squad.
So Daniel Levy didn't sign Gareth Bale. Daniel Levy didn't sign Luka Modric.
Gareth Bale cost us £3 million, and we sold him for 82. Harry Kane was free. Luka Modric cost us
wait. So are we judging the chairman based on the cost or the quality?
Well,
if you're bringing players in that are being developed over time, then yeah, okay, fantastic. He's pulled a blinder. But in terms of when we're screaming out for players to be brought in that are ready for the right and net, for the here and now, he doesn't do an effective job of that. He's got a fantastic offer.
Because he can't drop £400 million in 6 months like the Abu Dhabi group can. Who, by the way, not only do they have every advantage in the world, but they also cheat for fucking 7 years. That still to this day has had their crimes answered for. Like it's outrageous.
It's the cheap alternatives. It's the cheap alternatives that I'm more focused on.
Hang on a second, mate. The impact of competing with cheats that already have advantages is that the reality is that you're going to get you're going to play second fiddle. You're the guy who's getting sloppy seconds. You're the guy who, like Chelsea to this day, forget about Todd Bowley for a second, but go back to Willian. Right? Willian was at our fucking training ground. He left our training ground, signed under Roman Abramovich, won Player of the Season the year that they won the title. And then forevermore, Chelsea have got an indelible mark in their brand that they are still to this day and will do for 5, 10, maybe decades more, be able to compete with us based on the draw of trophies because of what Abramovich was doing, which first and foremost was before the rules. Then the rules came in. Then he cheated by paying his PA in various ways and buying property. Then Todd Bowley came in and got a £1.5 billion freebie because of the Russian-Ukraine war. Chelsea were a nothing team. Chelsea could only dream to be able to put on the amount of fans that went to Bilbao. And if Chelsea won the fucking Champions League next season, their parade down the fucking King's Road would be like pissing into the wind versus what we did. We are a much bigger team that has to compete with fraudulent fucking owners that got a buy, that got a gimme, and then they are still living off of that bullshit now. And when they're living off of it and they get to operate in a world where they can draw players in based on the fraudulent behavior of years gone by, there's collateral damage to that behavior. It's collateral damage that Tottenham plays second fiddle in the pecking order because they have a brand and a draw that was created and crafted, an indelible mark into the sandstone of history because their previous owner was a fucking cheat. Like, it's not in isolation. When you criticize Daniel Levy, and by the way, I'm saying all this shit even though I'm fucking furious with the prick right now. I'm furious with Daniel Levy for what's going on right now. So take this in the context that I'm trying to say it. But when we look at history, when people go after Daniel Levy, they have to bake in what it is that he's up against. And he's done a fucking good job. And I come back to this. Name me three chairmen that don't have the advantages of the people that I know you're going to mention anyway. Name me 3 chairmen that have done a better job than him. And I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You won't. Right? Tony Bloom, Matthew Benham, all those guys, they're very good at one thing. They're very good at creating data, finding an £8 million player, selling him for 40. That wouldn't satisfy you as a Tottenham fan. If he was your chairman, you'd get bored of finishing 8th every year. So,
what did we do? What did we do with the Gareth Bale money? What did we do with the Modric money? What did we do with the Harry Kane money? For me, with the Gareth Bale money, he signed 7 players that season If he had gone and signed 3 players, that
is he signing them, or is he employing
quality.
experts? Is he employing people that come with a massive pedigree that just made? I think Steve Hitchen was his biggest faux pas. Steve Hitchen was his biggest faux pas by far. But to sit here and make out like Daniel Levy is pulling all the triggers on everything, he's not Superman.
He went and spent £60 million on Dominic Solanke, and he's not a £60 million
Dominic
player.
Solanke is a fucking good. £60 million today gets you fucking a good player, mate. Doesn't get you a top draw player. Right, 60. Dominic Solanke is wildly underrated by this fan base. It's fucking.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think he
about 10 of Brennan Johnson's goals should be given to Dominic Solanke, because Johnson doesn't score anywhere near as many of the back post bully that he is. Doesn't score anywhere near that. Most of Dominic Solanke's output that people criticise is reflected in Brennan Johnson's output. 100%. And I'll die on that hill until the day I die.
Moussa Sissoko being signed for £32 million. No way was he worth £32 million. It was good football, right? Just not £32 million worth. My argument is the money that we've made from players hasn't been spent effectively. It's been spent on players that they're risks. They were risks.
Has Tony Bloom got a spotless record? Because I remember that they bought Gyökeres for 500 grand, or sorry, for something like 500 grand, and sold him for $1 million to Coventry. So there's mistakes that everyone makes. When you've Josh, I don't know you that well, mate, but I'm guessing you're just a normal human being that isn't perfect. You're fallible. In the last 25 years, have you made mistakes? Because I have.
No,
if I get through a day making more better decisions than bad decisions, I'm a happy guy. I've made more mistakes today than than most people would probably recognize in a week. I make bad decisions every day. Daniel Levy's been in charge for 25 years, and I still, to this day, when I'm having debates with people about Daniel Levy, hear the same fucking bullshit from 15 years ago about Jack Grealish, that we missed the trick on Jack Grealish. Imagine if you had an auditor the size of the Tottenham community that was picking through your every decision and going, that's a shit one, that's a shit one, that's a shit one, that's a shit one, because they have an agenda, because they don't think that this guy's good enough, because they have expectations beyond their reach. And then they never reflect on the good things that he's done. They only remind everybody about the bad things. Imagine if that happened to you, Josh. If it happened to me, mate, I'd be torn apart, mate. I'd be torn apart.
Let me reiterate, right? Me thinking that Daniel Levy is a bad football chairman, that's my opinion and my opinion only. I'm not one of these that are going to try and force that out there. That's just my opinion. From a business perspective, I think what he's done in terms of infrastructure, what he's done in terms of profit revenues, what he's done in terms of marketing, that's a business masterclass right there. What he's done in terms of gaining more profit streams into the club, that's fantastic. I would just like it to be implemented into the footballing side of things. That's my biggest concern, and I think that we still haven't seen that yet. I think there's only so much money you can make from the Sky Ball. That's a guarantee. But I'm talking in terms of, this hotel that we're supposedly building. Will the profits from that go into the club? The F1 track, will that go into the profit? Will that go into the revenues of the club? Where's the boxing money gone? Where's the Beyonce money? Where's the Wiz Khalifa money? Where's all the money we've got from all these concerts? We've got 32 live events. We've got 32 non-footballing live events coming into the stadium.
Who's responsible for that, Josh?
Well, it's Daniel Levy's ground, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, so
100%.
Is that money?
Wait, are you saying that's a bad thing then?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is,
it's a brilliant thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a brilliant thing.
I'm not doubting that. I've said it's a fantastic business. It's a fantastic profit stream. It's a revenue stream, which is absolutely fantastic. I would like to see the money that we've made from that implemented into the footballing side of stuff, which I don't feel has been done yet.
Sorry, what was that last point? That the money from the stadium hasn't come into the club yet?
I said the money that's come from these non-footballing events,
the
NFL,
it hasn't come into the club.
The boxing, the concerts.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen that yet.
The 5 years before we moved into the stadium, from 2015 to 2019, we were spending £13 million a year net spend on average for those 5 years. The 5 years since, it's now 6 years, we spent £118 million a year. Where do you think with that 12-fold improvement? Where's that money come from? Do you think?
Where's the money come from? It's come from those events. But again, has it been spent on the footballing side of things?
Yes.
I don't think it has, Sean.
Yeah, we spent 120 million. I think it's 112 million pound a year on average for the last 5 years since we moved into the stadium, and we spent 13 million pound a year on average for the 5 years before we moved in. So that money has come from
how many
stadium.
Non-footballing events?
That money's come from the stadium.
How many non-footballing events? How many non-footballing events are we talking? Because this summer coming up, we've got 32 non-footballing events.
Okay. Look, listen, I don't know the makeup of what comes from the stadiums on match day versus the non-foot, but what difference does it make? Like the stadium, if the stadium's not being used, if we're playing on a Saturday and we don't play again for another 2 weeks, why shouldn't that stadium be used in every fucking possible facet that it can to make as much money as it can? So I don't understand your point.
You are misunderstanding my point. What I'm saying is, since the stadium's open, we've had a handful of non-footballing events. That money's supposedly gone into the stadium, and we're yet to see it. Summer alone,
what do you mean we're yet to see it? We are seeing it. We're seeing it in the transfer spend.
I don't think we're seeing it effectively. But here's my argument. That's based on a handful. We're talking this year, this summer alone, we had 32 non-footballing events, which is more than what the stadium has ever hosted since it opened up. If that's the case, I'll wait for next summer to see what we do in the transfer market to see if the money's going to be spent effectively, if the money's actually being spent. Because I don't think
it is being spent, Josh. It's been spent every year, mate. Well, I don't know where you think we've improved our average spend over the last 5 years versus the 5 years before we moved in by about 10 times. I actually thought it was 8 times, but that's saying the numbers outside. It's more. So, where do you think the money's coming from, if not from the stadium?
It's coming from Sky Sports. It's coming from the football. It's. I don't think none of the money's gone into the football. I think some of the money's gone into the football inside. But again, we're a football club. Our stadium is being used for non-footballing events. Now, I understand the principle. You've got a business, you've got overheads, you've got costs, you've got spending. Josh,
literally, our revenue has gone from 140 million to 550 million. The only thing that has manifested, the only thing that's changed, the only thing that's changed is the stadium. We were playing in the Champions League before we got into the new stadium. We got to the Champions League final after 1 year in Wembley, or that half a season in Wembley, and then we finished the Champions League year at the stadium. And then ever since then, we've actually moved backwards, funnily enough, in terms of our average participation in the Champions League relative to the previous 5 years. Like, the revenue increase is entirely because of the stadium.
And I'm not disregarding that. The revenue stream, 100%. But I do not necessarily think the money that we're spending has been spent effectively. I don't think the money's been spent effectively in the right places. I don't think that's the case. We're spending more money on players, 100%. But are we spending money on world-class players? We haven't had that draw. We've got Champions League football this season. We've got 32 non-footballing events in this summer alone. Next season for me will be the story will unfold. Is that money being spent effectively? Is there money that we can spend?
Is the argument, because the argument a minute ago was it's not being spent. Now it's not being spent effectively. Lubo, have you frozen, or you just haven't moved? Because you're like people in the chat are going, Lubo's camera's frozen, but you haven't moved.
I'm sitting here reading the comments while listening to you guys talking.
I do not.
Is he breathing? Is the camera frozen? I don't know what's going on.
Josh. I'll tell you the problem, because it's not a single answer, because there are different answers to this question. Is he a good chairman? If you're talking about,
in my opinion, no.
You can. If you're not winning trophies, then someone else is winning trophies, and then you're saying, well, why is that person winning trophies? And then you can say, with all the things that they're doing, I'm more interested in what we're doing or what we're not doing.
Yeah, but that's influenced by what other people are doing, Lubo.
No, but Sean, I don't believe. I think Levy could have been a better chairman during his 25 years. I think there are a lot of things that he could have done differently that would have made us more competitive.
Of
That
course.
would have made us more competitive.
Could you have been a better human than you've been in the last 25 years?
Could I have been a better? I've tried to be.
Could you have been a better human? Have you made mistakes?
Yes, we all make mistakes.
Oh, exactly.
But,
okay, then. When you have 500,000 people, or in this case, 900 people that are scrutinizing everything he does and only reflecting on the mistakes, do you not think it becomes a bit partisan?
Do you not think, though, Sean, that do you honestly think that he has been 100% committed to making Tottenham, not just him, Lewis as well? Let's call it Enoch, because they are partners, and Enoch are the owners. And because Levy's the front man and he's running the club on a day-to-day basis, he takes all the flack and Lewis doesn't. So let's call it Enoch. Do you honestly think that Enoch have gone for it, or do you think that they are risk averse and they will take the club because for me, they'll take the club up.
They're risk averse. They're risk averse, 100%.
Right. So they're not prepared to stretch themselves the way that other clubs with lesser revenues.
Who does? Tell me who.
I think virtually every single club in the Premiership pushes themselves. Hang on, they all push themselves more. They push themselves in terms of wages to revenue ratio. I'm not saying be stupid. I'm not saying be reckless. But we were on 42% for year ending 24-25. The wages dropped. So
why did it drop?
The wages dropped because
let's not take us back. Let's give the context. Why did the wages drop?
The wage bill dropped because we got rid of 16 players and we brought 4 or 5 in. Mm-hmm. And
who were those players?
They were kids, apart from Solanke.
Who are the players that left? Who are the big players on the big money?
The big players that left were Kane, Perisic, Lloris, Dyer,
Ndombele. Yeah, now, but are you gonna remind everybody that actually wasn't a reduction on the wage bill? That was just a sunk cost. That was an abnormal expense, right?
Well, those were wages that went.
Yes, but we paid Ndombele's money off. This is a little I love you to pieces, mate. But this is a demonstration of where you're partisan buying, where you gloss over the fact.
30 million, Sean. It was still 30 million less.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, mate. It wasn't. It was 20 million less because we paid 10 million off as an abnormal cost. And I've told you this 1,000 fucking times, mate, and you acknowledge it, and then you go and repeat the same thing again.
Whichever way you look, so it's 20 million instead of 30 million. But the wage bill went down. You're a Spurs fan. You want Spurs success. Does it make any difference to your life about Levy's personal wealth? Or does it make a difference to your life when you have a night like Bilbao? Or you have a night like Ricky Villa? Or you have a night like whichever cup win we've had? That makes a difference to your life. Those are memories and moments in your life that you will take with you to the grave. Not how much Levy is making. That's irrelevant.
I'm not trying to. Wait, why do you dress it up like that? Again, it becomes disingenuous.
No, because
it's a disingenuous argument. Why would I give a fuck how much money he makes?
I'm only interested in the footballing decisions.
But you say that, but you're not because you still. Whenever I've had these debates with you. You riff off all of your mistaken misinformation arguments about that are based on the finance. I correct you, and then once I correct you, you then say we're a football club, sure, we're not accountants. And if that's the case, Ian, then why do you spend the previous hour talking about accountancy stuff?
Because unfortunately, this club has dragged everybody into this. This isn't a normal football club, Sean. We're not like Liverpool, who will have they'll have the odd event, but it's all about football there.
Yeah, but my point is, mate, is that you talk about finance, you talk about the numbers until you say something to someone that do
you think, Sean,
with respect, that can correct you on the misinformation that you're speaking, and then as soon as I say that's not the case, this is the truth, and then you go, well, Sean, you care about spreadsheets? We're a football club.
The truth is that Levy cares more about spreadsheets than the football club.
Of course, he's a fucking chairman. Of course he does.
He does. But if you're a chairman of a football club and you have your biggest net profit that you've ever had in 19 years, and that's because your team has reached the Champions League final, do you not think to yourself, duh, do you know what? We've got to a Champions League final. Do you know what? We've made 138 million net profit. All that money we've made on the Champions League, we've made a fortune.
138 million profit before we moved into the
stadium. You still don't stretch yourself.
What do you mean? We had £1 billion of debt, mate. The story that you tell is missing so many key ingredients, bro.
Sean, the debt's covered. They are paying the debt off.
No, they're paying half the debt off of that price. It's not the same, mate, dude. I don't know. Are you talking to me or are you talking to the audience? Because if you're talking to me, you know I'm not going to tolerate this. Your revision of history is fucking terrible, Ian.
My revision of history? Sorry, what do you mean my revision of history?
You're telling a story like in a different world to what actually happened, mate. Like you're leaving out key ingredients. Like you say, the 500 days, it's a disgrace. Actually, there was a fucking load of reasons why there was no sale, no purchases those in that period, mate. And we've had this conversation 100 times, Ian.
Right. We know why he didn't have any money for the. We know why he didn't have any money for transfers. Because the money he was promised for all outgoings, the prices put on those players were too high. So none of them got sold. So he didn't have any money.
Oh, my God, mate. I can't go through this again with you, man. Like we've gone through this so many fucking times, Ian, and it's like you acknowledge it in the moment, and then the next time we speak, it's like it's just gone in one ear and out the other. I don't know.
I do recall a moment in time where Daniel Levy had a £35 million price tag on Eric Dyer during Eric Dyer's statistically worst season that he's had at Tottenham. So I can kind of see where Ian's coming from in terms of the price demand was too high. I can see that, but then at the same time, I can see where Sean's coming from. Like we have got overheads, we have got costs, we have got spending, we've got to take into consideration taxes and all that malarkey. But then I'm sort of left on the fence, and it's in my opinion that in terms from a footballing perspective, I do not feel as if Daniel has done enough to substantially make us a successful football team, which is ultimately what Tottenham Hotspur is. We are a football team. We are a business as such, but in terms of morality, we're not a business. We're a football club. Let's not take away from what Tottenham Hotspur is.
No one's taking away from Tottenham Hotspur what Tottenham Hotspur is. But if you're going to analyse why it is that Tottenham haven't had as much success as other people would like them to have, then in order to do that accurately and fairly and impartially, which is where my frustration with Ian is, like I try to jump across angles, which is like why I was honest with you for the first hour and a half of the show. I'm like, you know what? Like right now, Daniel Levy is it's a disgrace what's going on right now. But that doesn't mean that because I feel that way right now that I'm suddenly going to change the way I felt about the last 25 years and the bollocks that I hear from so many Tottenham fans who reflect on the last 25 years, where because they have their partisan opinion, because they've decided that Daniel Levy is the devil, that suddenly when you're reflecting on a 25-year tenure, that you're only going to talk about the things that they deem to be mistakes, never reflect on the successes because the buck stops at the top. And then also, when they're doing that, also give misinformation along the path. Like, I'm not going to sit here and listen to it. I'm right now fucking pissed off with Daniel Levy. But when I hear people, no disrespect to you, Ian, but you do it all the time, mate, and other people as well, who reflect on 25 years of a fucking tenure from a club who used to finish 15th, 14th, and we're almost bankrupt when we took over, who in the last 25 years, we finished second in the league, third in the league twice, got to a Champions League final, just won a Europa League final, got to 6 other finals, 14 semi-finals, 28 quarterfinals, and then to reflect only on the mistakes, it gets fucking tiresome, especially when along that path, you bring out information that is relating to the financial side of the conversation, get it wrong when I correct you on it, then you say, stop being a spreadsheet fan. And I remember what you said to me on Sabbath Show, Ian. You said, on Sabbath Show, Ian, you said, you're not a real football fan, Sean, you're a spreadsheet merchant. And I was like, How fucking dare you, when you were the guy that asked for Tottenham or were rooting for Tottenham's relegation and for us to fail in the cup semi-final against Liverpool because you thought the Levy out movement was onto something and that it was better in the short term to see us go down to the Championship, and you're calling me not a fan because I understand fucking accounts. Like, it pissed me off.
I want my team back. I want my club back. I want a chairman, Sean, that is determined, that wants footballing success along with financial success. And I feel I've been cheated because we've got a chairman who is only concentrating on profit, and it's profit before glory. Now, going back to what Sean said about what Josh said about recruitment, I think the problem we've got, Josh, is that we've got a chairman who is not into football. He's not a football fan. And I've been told this by various people. That's not a criticism of him. Nobody has to be a football fan.
He is a football fan. He goes to more games than any other chairman in the fucking Premier League. He goes everywhere.
Well, so you're taking accounts up on how many games every other chairman goes to. Sean, come on. Most of them go to most of the matches.
Most of them go to the most. He goes to every one, correct?
If he is not a football chairman, then he should have brought somebody in, like Sheikh Mansour did with the Barcelona guy, to run the club from day one, to put in a strategy for current, mid-term, and long-term, and build something. But that's never been the case. It's always short-termism. It's always panicked, reactive decisions. And unfortunately, we were a team before leaving. By the way, they weren't going bankrupt under Sugar, Sean. The bank.
Under Scholar, they were going bankrupt, but Sugar was
under Scholar. They were 18 million in debt, and Nat Solomon's.
I know what happened. My dad was the stockbroker for the for the sale of Terry Venables' stock. I know the story inside and out.
So Sugar left the club in a good financial situation. We weren't in trouble when Sugar sold. We
were nothing like we are now.
No, but
your expectations of the club have gone up exponentially because of the financial stewardship of the guy that you think is some cancer of the fucking club.
No. We, between 1961 and 2000, we won 9 trophies. That's one every 4.5 years. Mate, I've
got the
and our average is now one every. Sorry, so I'm not expecting league championships. I'm not expecting the amount of trophies that Man City.
Explain that to me, Ian. Explain that trend to me.
Did you hear what I just said, Sean?
I did, no, but I want you to explain that trend to me, mate. You just brought up 1960 to 2000. I've done a 75-year review of trophies. Explain to me why it is. You can see in the first 25-year period, right? Look at the bottom there. I'm not going to call them all out, but look how many teams used to win trophies. Then from 1976 to 2000, look at the difference. And then look what's happened in the last 24 years. I haven't updated it for this season, but look at the trend. Look at the trend, right? Look at this screen here. Explain to me why it is that so many trophies go in so few hands over time. Is it all because of Daniel Levy? Because if it is, then what relationship does Daniel Levy have with Nottingham Forest? What relationship does Daniel Levy have with West Brom, with Wolves, with Leeds, with Wigan, with West Ham, with Ipswich, with all of the teams that used to be successful, Aston Villa, Everton, all of those teams used to be almost as successful as Tottenham were. Okay. I haven't won a fucking thing.
It's okay to drop your standards because other teams don't win trophies.
They're not dropping their standards, mate. There's other things that impact your ability to win other than just what your chairman is up to.
Right, there is no guarantee of trophies. I just want a chairman who would have put more into it the last 25 years. When Redknapp was third, 3 points off the leaders at Christmas, and he wanted Tevez and Cahill, he got Saha and Nelson. Just one small example of that was Levy, because he didn't want to stretch himself and actually go for that league championship. So he gave him 2 free transfers instead of spending the money on Tevez and Cahill. Now, our club, since the Premier League started, Sean, and I'm sure you know this, are the most profitable club. So I don't see that, we could have stretched.
Profitable is such a fucking dirty word, mate, because it can be manipulated. It can be manipulated. Like, Ian, you're a business owner. Like, do you want to tell your tax? Do you want to tell the tax man that you've made a profit, or do you find ways to reduce your ability to pay a tax bill at the end of the year?
But even with that, where the club have made an operating
argument,
Sean, no, it's not, because
it is, mate. It's such a stupid argument.
They have made a profit, even if it's been cut back, like it has in the last 2 years. Operating profit of 282 million, and they're showing a loss of about 90 million, I think it is, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, guys, before you carry on, I've got to jump out. So, Sean, thank you for having me on.
Sorry, mate. This happens between me and Ian. This happens between me and Ian.
So, I'll carry on watching the stream, but I'll catch you all in the Twitter Spaces soon.
Cheers, Josh. See you, mate. Take it easy.
So, mate, my point, Sean, is there's no guarantees we'd have won more trophies. I just want a chairman who wants success, that makes footballing success a priority. As a fan, I'm spending a lot of money. I'm travelling around. That's my choice. That's my choice. It's no one else's fault. That's my choice. But I love the club, and I'm a massive fan. And I just want. I
just wish that you wouldn't spin the story the way that you do.
I want them to give something back. I want them to give something back, because they'll walk off with the 12 times they in total, starting with the 22 million they put in for the 29% that they bought right at the start, and all the share issues where they've neutralised everybody else's shares. They've watered them down bit by bit. So the fact there's 30,000 of us with only 13% now, and they have put in, I think, in total, including the 100 million that was 95 million that was put in the other year, when they had the opportunity of 150, they bought shares with it. It wasn't money that they actually put into the club. They bought shares, so their profit will be greater. That's right.
How else are they going to put in money?
That's right. Well,
no, hang on. You just made a point, as though like what they've done is something dirty. How else are they allowed to put in money?
Didn't say the word dirty.
They didn't say the word dirty, but you were insinuating like the way they put in money, but they're diluting shareholders to get hold of it. How else are they supposed to do it?
Right, they have put in 250 million. They'll come away with.
Please answer that direct question, because I've heard you say this before again. Right, you just said that they put in money, but they diluted the shareholders to get it. Right, as in, and then by that, I'm guessing the inference is that they could have just put the money in. Explain to me how you think that can happen.
So you're telling me that at no time in the last 25 years, particularly, and I'm including the last few years, that a director cannot give a loan.
Correct.
To a club. You're telling me
a loan with interest, or dilute the shareholders. They're the options. So do you want more debt, or do you want a dilution? You as a shareholder might not want a dilution, but the dilution that they put in at £100 million was at a valuation of 7.75 billion. So you should be grateful, mate. You should be grateful that they did it that way.
Yeah, but
and I've explained this to you before, Ian.
Listen, when the club is sold, my shares. Yeah, but I'll get whatever my shares are times the number of, whatever the share is worth times the number of share I get.
Hang on a second. If the company is worth 4 billion, right? Then the fact that they put that 100 million quid in at a valuation of nearly double that is far better for you.
Why would they do that though? Why would they do that?
I've explained this before, mate, because it's a way to, like, the last funding raise is a way to then revalue the company, right? It's a little bit naive. It doesn't really happen for multi-billion-dollar companies, but it's very common in the fledgling companies and in the tech space, in high-growth organizations. This is what they do, right? The last funding round was at this valuation, therefore the next funding round has to be more, right? That's how it generally works. But for you to be, like, if you're saying that the club can just put money in and that they're disingenuous or that they're outrageous for doing it,
I haven't used those words. The point
I'm not saying you use those words, but the way that you
the point I was getting to was that they'll take their times 12 or whatever they get. Fine. I want to know what the fans are left with. What have the fans had for the 25 years? Big picture.
Well, let's ask the same question. What have Aston Villa? What have Aston Villa's
fans?
Not
interested in Aston Villa.
No, it's important. It's an important distinction.
I'm a Tottenham fan, Sean.
No, I know you are. I know you are. But your anger, again, it's an insular evaluation of how good this chairman is by saying things like, "What are the chairman? What are the fans left with?" And I'm saying, what are Everton like? If you're going to judge our chairman by a certain metric, then to be reasonable, you have to apply the same template to anybody else. And if it doesn't work anywhere else, then maybe your expectations are unreasonable. That's what I'm saying. And if you look at Everton, who used to be a top 4 merchant and used to be just as successful, what the fuck have they got to be happy about? Nothing. Aston Villa, nothing. Newcastle, until 3 months ago, nothing. Right? Ipswich, nothing. West Brom, nothing. Wolves, nothing. Forest, nothing. I'm saying maybe your anger shouldn't be just at Tottenham's chairman because you're looking internally. Maybe you should look at what's the bigger problem here, which is my argument. And then my argument is there's a reason why fewer and fewer teams win trophies over any period of time. The trend is very, very, very one-directional. It used to be like this, where the distribution of success was here. Right. Then it was like this, and now it's like this. It's 5 fucking teams. Right. That's it.
Sean, if Levy had given, for me, 100% to Wolves footballing success and didn't get there, then fine, there's no guarantee, but at least he's given it his best shot. And we can all say, you see, when you start charging high prices to the fans, you charge high prices in a restaurant, you go into a Michelin-star restaurant, you expect good food. He is not putting those players on the pitch in front of us that correlate with the money that he's charging the fans as well.
The money that you're paying for the game, do you think that you should be experiencing football like a cinema movie where the outcome is determined? Do you think it works like that, where if you charge £200 a ticket, then you should absolutely expect to win? Is not part of the fun of watching live football the jeopardy of not knowing the outcome?
No, but I think that if you have a chairman who is not determined to make a success of things, then I don't think he should be charging prices that are that high.
Fulham charge more than Tottenham.
I genuinely
charge more than Tottenham. Arsenal charge just as much.
One stand, Fulham charge more.
And why is that? And why that one stand? Why is that? Really interesting point. Why?
Well, obviously they're paying off the debt and they need the money.
And what's that with Tottenham? Is that not the same thing?
But do we not? I've been told that.
Come on, mate. No, to answer the question, is it not Is it not exactly the same thing?
Not exactly the same thing, because I've been told the non-footballing activities are covering the payments, the repayments.
Come on, mate. You're being so disingenuous, mate. I don't mean that in a way like.
Is that not correct? Is that not correct? That the non-footballing activities are covering the cost of the build year by year. What? The money
the non-footballing events or is that a problem that there's non-footballing events?
I'm stating a fact. The non-footballing activities, I've been told, are paying off the money that is owed on the ground. So yes, it is different because we've got those activities to pay it off and fully
because of our chairman or because of like some random choice like luck event. What's that?
No, because he is potentializing
a great businessman.
No, that's fine. That's great. Terrific. Lovely. I'm delighted. But you know what?
Like you are. It sounds like you're trying to nitpick and find any reason to say that he's a dickhead.
No, that's fine. That's great. Earn the money there, but stay out of football. Concentrate on the non-footballing activities if you're not going to go, and let someone in who is going to run the football club and doesn't have to answer to you and doesn't have Daniel Levy all over every single person who's working at Tottenham Hotspur.
Sim, if you want to come on, but this could be one of those situations where you can get a 2-on-1 against me, mate, and I'm happy to handle it. I'm 4 siders in, and I'm enjoying this debate with Lubo. If you want to come on, buddy, you want to come on, mate, you're more than welcome to. Let me know, mate. Let me know, and I'll send you the. Mate, all I'm saying to you, Ian, is that the arguments that you present are all. And with respect, and I get it, you're a passionate guy, and I know you're a very well-traveled Tottenham fan. You go the length and breadth, and I absolutely echo your frustrations right now. I don't share the same rationale as to why you felt the way you have for so long, but I do think that you are one of many who likes to look at the CV, if you like, the resume of a man who's been in charge for 25 years, and you go through it with a fine-tooth comb, looking for reasons to celebrate your opinion that he's a bad guy. You overlook the things that he's done well, or you pay them lip service at best and say, yeah, good, but, and then you move on to the next bad thing. And a lot of the time, a lot of the things that you put in the con list are actually like you've got a mistaken evaluation, a mistaken analysis of the context of it, or actually just the truth behind what's going on with it. And I think that, and I've said this to you before, Ian, because we've gone through this about 100 times since I've known you, and so many times I've corrected you on certain things that I'm not that sort of guy, but like if you're saying something that I just know to not be necessarily true because of my experience, then I'll say that this is how it is, Ian, and then you go, yeah, that's okay, that's fine. And then I see you later on going and saying the same thing that you just acknowledged that you were corrected on, and then you repeat the same things.
Give me an example then. Give me an example.
I've called out 5 in the last hour, mate.
You haven't. Not really. Not really. Yeah, Sean, at the end of the day...
Like the price of tickets, for example. You say Tottenham charge the most tickets. I say they don't. Fulham do. And you say why? And you say because of the stadium. I say, well, it's exactly the same fucking thing.
Right. But we have non-footballing activities that cover the costs.
So what? So do Fulham. They have events at their stadium. They haven't got concerts. But either way, what difference does it make? That's all. What's good? Like it all goes into the pot that you want to see us spending money on that you don't think we do. But for the 5 years since we moved into the new stadium, we've spent 10 times what we could have spent and what we did spend on average versus the 5 years prior to moving in. So the stadium is doing what it was supposed to do.
Well, my point in terms of no one can deny the money that's been spent the last 5 years, because you can see how much the club owe in amortised transfer fees. You know, I think, what is it? It's about 300 million at the moment, I think. But for me, the big issue, and I keep saying this, is that Levy gets involved in everything, and he should be having experts to come in. The money that has been wasted on players is one point. I think it's been dreadful. I mean, Ndombele cost the club 106 million. Now,
100%. That's a mistake. So this is another example, Ian, of you just cherry picking all of the mistakes.
Well, Sean, I could go through loads of mistakes.
I could go through loads of success. Otherwise, how did we lift the Europa League? How did we get to the Champions League final? How did we finish third twice? Our best Premier League finish. We spent half this show talking about the disgrace of finishing 17th, right? You subscribe to that. Daniel Levy gave us our best 3 Premier League finishes absent the 1961 season, or not Premier League finishes absent. But you don't talk about those things. You don't talk about them. You talk about all of the failures, which is what I'm saying. It's a disingenuous, it's a partisan approach. When you analyze anything over 25 years, you're going to find 1,000 mistakes, and hopefully you'll find 1,000 good things. But you focus on all of the mistakes because you're trying to reinforce a point rather than being balanced. That's what frustrates me.
I think I'm balanced. I think. Listen, I actually said I thought Levy's best decision was bringing in Paratici. I think Paratici's done so much that was good for the club before he had to take a back seat. I think since he's taken the back seat, a lot of the recruitment has been a lot worse than it was when Paratici was bringing in Romero, Bentancur, Kulu.
Name me the 10 best things that Daniel Levy's done for this club. And clip this, people. Clip this. I'm going to Lebo talk. I won't interrupt. 10 things that Daniel Levy's done that's been brilliant for this club.
I don't think I could give you 10. Don't think I could give you 10. I genuinely don't. I think
it's 10 things.
Sean, if we're talking about if you're asking me about 25 years, if you've asked me about 25 years, let's talk about the transfer policy. Let's talk about not buying people.
Give me 5 things. Give me 5. I'll go into. Give me 5 things.
Sean, listen. You asked me an opinion. This isn't an echo chamber, as you've always said.
It's definitely not an echo chamber.
100%. I'm giving you an alternative opinion.
Yeah, give me 5, I'm asking you. Give me five things that you think Daniel Levy's done well for the club.
Well, 5 things I think he's done well. I think on the football side, I'd say Paratici definitely. I'm not too sure. There are too many others on the football side. I'm not too sure. I think I think he has made.
This is going to be clipped. Oh, bro.
Sean, I think he's made so many mistakes as a footballing decision mistakes. I think there have been massive mistakes along the way.
Oh my! You can't name anything good.
I'm trying to think. Throw a few at me. Throw a few at me. You can turn around and say we've got a fantastic stadium, wonderful stadium. We're in debt. It's
How about the Europa League?
Europa League. I think Levy got lucky. I think he took a massive risk keeping Ange, and it came off. And it came off. I mean, none of the other.
You're proving my point. You are proving my point.
Sean, do you think?
You're proving my point.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh my god.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think any of the other big clubs would have allowed Ange to carry on with these losses during the season, or do you think they'd have got rid of him? What do you think?
Who's talking about here? Abu Dhabi, for example, Man City.
Do you think we've never really got above mid-table, did we? We were sixth after the City.
Even if I was to agree with you, which I probably would, right? Then isn't that one of Daniel Levy's success stories?
Yes, he took a massive risk, but he took a massive risk with the short-term future of the club because it could have backfired very, very easily. He took a massive risk. Should he have taken that risk?
But he did, and he got it right. And it's like, even through gritted teeth, you can't even say that the Europa League. I said it earlier.
No, I said it earlier. I said it earlier that he took a risk and it paid off. I think I was answering one of Josh's points, and I did say that. Do I think? Would I have taken that risk with the club if it had gone downhill? I mean, I've got Dan here who's sending messages, and Dan said on his podcast, if we lose the final, we could go back it could set us back 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, no, I listen. I said it. I said it as well. It's a fucking. He's basically playing 20. He's playing blackjack, and he's twisting on 17, and he got a 4.
Yeah, that's what happened, and it came off for him. So fine. There we are. There's a second one. He built the ground that ultimately when it's okay. Number 3, to sell the club, you've got the best turnkey operation in the Premier League. You've got a football ground that's built. You've got a training ground that's built. So the infrastructure's there already. So
the training ground is 1, the stadium's 2.
Right, but as a football fan,
the Europa League is 3. Pretty big deals, by the way, because they're massive parts of the thing, right?
Okay, all right, but 3 or 4 things out of 25 years. I mean,
I could go on all day long, mate. But I'm asking you. I'm asking you, mate, because this is a demonstration of what I'm saying, mate. You are not fair. You are not unbiased. You are not. Yeah, you're not biased. You are unbiased. Oh wait, that's wrong. You are not unbiased. You are entirely biased, right? You're saying that you think you're entirely impartial. It's laughable, mate. It's laughable. But let's press pause for a second because I've completely neglected the super chats, and there's loads of them to go through. I'm so sorry, guys. Phil P. Sean, can you wait until August for your purple and gold scarf? I won't be wearing it in August, mate. I'm a big guy. I'm sweaty wearing a fucking vest, mate. So I won't be wearing that. And to be honest, those colours don't suit me. But appreciate you, Philly boy. Revenue up divided by average league position way down. Help. You know what, mate? I've had 5 siders by this point. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Phil. But thank you, mate. Terry O'Shea, Levy said all money from events will go into the first team. They've taken 90 million out in the past 2 years for capital projects. I've been through the accounts. Liars. Terry, can you show me what part of what account shows a deduction? Can you just point out to me? Send me a DM, mate. I'd love to see it. And yeah, maybe you're right, but I haven't seen that, mate. So thank you for the super chat, though. Laurie Boost, appreciate you as well. Look up our best 10 consecutive year average league position in our 143 history. I think Levy is a victim of his own success. I'm speaking my language there, Laurie, mate. And I haven't seen you before, but I appreciate you, buddy. And I like that suit. I like that icon of yours. Thank you very much for the super chat. We have to look up that 10-year consecutive average league I think I've brought it up before, to be honest, and I'm pretty sure it tells the story that I'd like to see. And Dan Bowers says it's because all of the good work Levy has done that fans have the expectations to win trophies and finishes. Fucking hell. A couple of super chats here that are on my side for once, Ian. You know?
There you go.
Yeah, it's a rarity. Even on my own channel, it's a rarity to see a couple of Levy.
You'll sleep well tonight, Sean.
Probably not, mate. I've had 5-siders, so. Mate, listen. I mean, how much time have you got left? Would you want to carry on, or do you want to? Call
I've got a few minutes. I've got a few minutes. Go on. What's the time? What is it? Just midnight. Okay.
Thank you for the super chats, guys. Ian, how about this? Let's move away from the Levy debate. I think you've been scalded enough. Let's. I want to ask you this: what do you think is going to happen? When is the announcement going to come? Which way is it going to point? And then what is the rationale as to why it's taken so long to get to an answer, a solution?
I think that's because of the need to move the club forward towards next season. They've got to start building now for the 25-26 season. I think they've got to make a decision by the end of this week, one way or another. You know, there are people that are saying he's under contract. Levy doesn't have to say anything. If Angie's staying, then there's no reason for a statement. But I think there's been so much speculation that I think this does need clarifying either way. What was your other question?
When will the announcement come, and essentially, like, what's the justification for why it's taken so long? Is there going to be one, or is it just going to be like Ange's been sacked, we thank him for his time? Is there going to be some sort of clarification on what else is going on? Because I just think that there has to be something else going on. I cannot for the life of me. If it's true, and this is where I will 100% get on board. Like I say, even if I pivot towards Levy out, I'm not there yet. But even if I pivot towards that, and I'm kind of getting there, I am getting there. If things don't change, if there's no clarification, I'm going to be fucking furious by the end of the week. But even if that's the case, I'm not going to change my stance on the previous 24 years where, people think because you're Levy out now, you've always been Levy out. And that's not the case for me. I think he's done a very good job. But right now, I think he's fucking up massively. I think it's inexcusable unless there is something else going on. And I'll understand if there is an announcement regarding, board chaos or whatever. There's more clarity around what that whole thing looks like. Or if there is, a bid that comes in and it looks like Tottenham are going to be taken over, then I'll go, okay, I get it. Because actually the continuity of the football club, who's going to direct us going forward, all of those things are more important for the longevity of Tottenham Hotspur than signing a transfer right now, even though right now we live in the now and therefore we're focused on the now. So I'll get on board all that stuff. But if there's no justification for any of this delay, then I'll be absolutely disgusted with what's going on.
I think you're looking too deeply into it, Sean. I think he's got away. He's got a big decision to make. The biggest decision for any football chairman is who the manager is. And I think he's got away. He's taken himself away. He's gone away from all the emotion of everything. He's taken himself off to think quietly, take advice from a few close advisors. And think about what he's going to do, and come back. Make his decision, and then come back and announce it. And I also think it's going to be a big blanket decision, statement, should I say, regarding different people. Regarding Ange.
Do you think that 100%? Do you think that Scott Munn is definitely gone?
Do I think Munn's gone? I think if Munn brought Ange to the club. So if Levy thinks that, I'm not talking big picture for 2 years, if Levy thinks that Ange was the wrong choice, or if Ange hasn't worked out, which he obviously thinks, if he's going to get rid of him, then he doesn't want to take him into season 3, then if Levy's saying that Ange was the wrong choice, then that's on Munn. Because then Munn's choice is credibility is cut to pieces, possibly.
So this is a situation where you're taking the credit, you're taking the accountability away from the buck stops at the top, and you're giving it to someone a bit more closer to the decision.
Yes, possibly. Levy's trusted Munn. But ultimately, if Mun's made the wrong move in bringing in Ange, then Levy's probably pissed off that he's made a mistake bringing in Mun.
Yeah, I agree with that. Listen, when I say that like the buck doesn't stop at the top, it does. It absolutely does. But that doesn't mean that you don't that you can't also allocate the fair share of the slice of the pizza towards the people that are employed as experts. And I don't think Scott Munn is a football expert. I think he's a cycling expert that moved into the City Football Group, and that Daniel Levy looked at him and thought, this guy, he's part of the City Football Group, therefore he knows what he's doing. But I also think, similar to how I look at Thomas Frank, if I'm entirely honest, I think a lot of fans who want Thomas Frank, I think that they look at Frank and say, well, look how well he's done working with people like Mbeumo and Wissa, who are only now known as class players, but when he got them, he turned them into the superstars that they are. And I'm like, well, how do we know that? Right? Like, the data identified those guys young. Maybe they were always on a trajectory to be that good because the Brentford model is that clever, like Brighton's model is. Are we giving De Zerbi too much credit? Are we giving, great? Look at Graham Potter, right? Graham Potter was given so much credit for turning Brighton into the team that they were. Then look at De Zerbi at West Ham and at Chelsea, right? Not that spectacular, but everyone gives Graham Potter the credit for what happened at Brighton. But maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just that the talent ID that they have in the data system under the what's it called? The squid. Oh, I forget the name. But I've had a few beers. The name of that data tech company that they have.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe like the players that they bought, it wasn't the fact that Graham Potter developed them and then De Zerbi also. Maybe it was just that these players were always going to be on a trajectory to be awesome, right? And so that the managers were just lucky that they inherited people that were unknown, but they happened to be super talented. And so maybe Thomas Frank isn't that great of a manager. Maybe he's been given the credit for developing players that were bought at 10 million and that are now sold for 50. But maybe actually it's just Brentford's model of identifying talent, and that these players were always on that trajectory to be great players anyway, regardless of the manager, if that makes sense.
Well, all the players I think they bought have probably moved up to Brentford rather than coming down. So Frank would have taken them on another step, another level. So for me, I think if Glasner doesn't come, for me, Glasner and Xavi are my first two choices. If we can't get either of those, or we're not interested in either of those, then I would go for Thomas Frank. I think he's, most clubs that come up from the Championship, there's such a divide between the Championship and the Premiership in terms of levels that a lot of the clubs have gone straight back down. Frank has kept Brentford up for 4 years. I think he's been manager there for 7, and he's got a net spend of 70 million in 7 years, which is 12 million, 13 million more than what we spent on our record buy, which is Solanke at 57. I think Frank's done a superb job there. Brentford.
How many of those players at Brentford? And it's the same thing. It's Star Lizard. Star Lizard. I was saying I thought it was Frog. It's Star Lizard is the Brighton company, and the Brentford company is called Now Betting or Betting Now or something. Like both of those, it's exactly the same thing, right? It's exactly the same model. Brighton have got more success with it than Brentford, but Brentford aren't like slow behind. Like, why are we so sure that it's the managers that are taking these players and turning Caicedo from £5 million to 100, or from Mbeumo from £10 million to 60? How do we not just know that they got lucky and discovered? Like, you guys, you didn't give Gareth. It wasn't you. It was Josh. Didn't give Daniel Levy any credit for Gareth Bale. He said, "Oh, we bought Gareth Bale for £3 million. We sold him for 100 million." All right, okay.
Whoever the scouts were,
if Brentford had found Gareth Bale, and Gareth Bale went for £100 million, was it Harry Redknapp that turned Bale into the super?
I think it was.
Was Harry Redknapp responsible for Modric being the world-class player that he was, or was Modric always going to be a world-class player, and Harry Redknapp was a beneficiary of that story?
No. Well, as far as Modric is concerned, I think Pleat went to Levy and said, this kid's really good. You've got Euros 2008 coming up. We can get him for 15 million. After the Euros, he'll probably be worth 50. The fee will probably more than treble. And when there's an opportunity, and this is Levy's trading, mentoring from Joe Lewis, I've been told, when there's an opportunity for a good deal, Levy moves like lightning. He moved like lightning with Dele Alli for 5 million.
No, hang on, but I'm not.
So I think
Levy. My point is the player. Hang on, mate. Sorry, I'm not trying to make it about Daniel Levy again, Ian. I'm trying to ask you.
No. Redknapp. I think Redknapp pushed Bale from left back to left wing. So I saw he saw something there. I remember Bale scoring early in one of his first games. We lost at home to Arsenal 2-1, and I think it might have been a free kick from the edge of the box. And Bale was marauding down as a left back, and Redknapp obviously saw something there and pushed him forward. I mean, you know that you look at the game in the San Siro. That was fantastic, that hat trick. So the natural progression was to push him further up the pitch, and look at the superstar he became. So
yeah. So my question is,
there was a certain trajectory.
How many is Mbeumo a 5 times return on investment for Brentford because Thomas Frank? Like, because a lot of people that say, like, how can you have a problem with Thomas Frank as the next Tottenham manager? Look what he's done at Brentford. And I'm saying, fair enough, it's a reasonable question, but are we overlooking the possible reality? Not saying it is the reality, but the possible reality that it was at Sporting Odds and their data that just identified smaller equivalents of Luka Modric and Gareth Bale, and that Thomas Frank was just a beneficiary of that data rather than him being this brilliant man developer, this player development coach. Like, we don't know, but I just think it's a little bit like assumption. It's assumptive to sit there and say that with the reason why Thomas Frank's a great manager is, number one, look what he does with these players. Well, Graham Potter gets the same accolades at Brighton, but what the fuck did he do at Chelsea or West Ham?
Well, I know I've got close friends who go regularly to West Ham, who've all said that Potter's that there's going to be a complete rebuild there because they got an old team generally with aging legs, and they're too slow and they can't get about the pitch like they should be. If there are any West Ham fans in here, I'll be interested to hear if that opinion I've been given is correct. So Potter, it'll be interesting to see what he does at West Ham. With Chelsea, I think he walked into, was that the first year that Clear Lake were in charge?
Yeah.
I think it was a bit chaotic. It was just chaos there, wasn't it?
Yeah. He got force-fed like 25 players, and most of them were young.
So is it, he wasn't involved to my knowledge in it. As you said, he was force-fed players. Very difficult when a manager comes in and he's given players that he may not fancy, and he's got to try and work out a system.
He hasn't done much at West Ham, has he?
No, he hasn't. He's had a poor season there. But again, like Amorim at United, he's inherited a squad of players that aren't his. And if Potter's a good manager, then he will rebuild, bring players in, and you'll see a much improved West Ham over the next 2 years. As I think United will be much improved. I think 2 years from now, I think United fans will be like looking forward to the 27-28 season with Amorim, thinking, do you know what? We're going to be really competitive in all competitions here, because I rate Amorim very, very highly. I think he made a couple of errors for the Champions League final. I was surprised that he played Mount instead of Garnacho. I thought Garnacho, for me, during that final, when he was on the ball, it was the only time that I was seriously worried. And I was surprised.
If Amorim gets Mbeumo, Cunha, and Gyökeres, and he doesn't start next season if he's not in the top 4 by Christmas, he's gone. He has to be gone. The first season you can forgive a little bit, but the second, if he gets these players that are coming in, Amorim's a shout for first sacking of the season. I just wonder whether it's a poison chalice. Like, the Manchester United hot seat is the highest pressure hot seat in the game in the English system. I think there's nowhere that comes with more pressure than the Manchester United seat. And if he gets the rebuild that he's looking for, and he doesn't start next season well, I think he's out. I think he's out before Christmas. There's an argument to say he should be gone already. Personally, 17th and nothing else, out of Europe for the first time in how many years? You know.
Yeah, no, they don't.
If he gets his money spent on him, and he gets these players, he gets a front line like it's looking like it's going to be. Then there's no excuse. No Europe next season, 1 game a week. They have to be back in the top 4.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a poor performance. I thought he played. I felt a bit, if you're looking at it from a neutral point of view, I've got United friends who were talking about Highlands, but Fernandes played the first half so far back there was no connect. So there was no real threat, was there? Particularly, there was 1 or 2 crosses that flashed across the box. I think there was 1 shot from right to left that just missed the post. But apart from them, we weren't really in any trouble. So, but I do think generally, you look at the team Amorim built has gone on to win the Portuguese league again. Sporting Lisbon. The guy's no mug. He's no fool. United wanted him. He wanted to leave it to the end of the season, and United gave him an ultimatum. And obviously, if you've got a massive club like United, who are one of the world giants, regardless of where they finish this season, the brand's massive. They've got the pull across the world fan-wise. They're just an enormous club. And, along with Liverpool, they are the 2 big giants of English football.
100%. And they still fail more times than they succeed if the line in the sand on a successful season is a trophy, Yeah,
but it's funny actually. People knock Ten Hag. He won cups in the last 2 seasons, didn't they? But the standards, the expectations at Man United are so high that that's not good enough.
Last question for you then, mate. Would you swap Ange for Ten Hag? I know he's gone somewhere else, but just if in a world where he was out of a job, would you swap him for Ten Hag?
Probably would.
Love that.
I had to think about it. But if you gave me a choice, again, it's Glasner 1, Xavi 2, Frank 3.
Laurie Booth, we're going to round off, guys. Laurie Booth has said, Ian, like me, you have watched Spurs for a long time. What years in the last 50 do you think we may win the league?
I thought 1985, we came close. We finished 3rd. We were right. I remember winning at Highbury on New Year's Day, and we were top of the table. We finished up with 7 out of 10 games at home. But because of participation in all the trophies, I think those 10 games were smashed into about 20, 26, 27 days. And we had injuries. We lost a key game at home to Everton when Southall was pulled off worldie after worldie. That was the first time. I don't think we were ever in the running up to Poch. Those 2 years in 15-16 and 16-17. I think those were the two seasons. So really, 3 times since I started going regularly in 69. That's all. Maybe 71 wasn't bad, but I think Arsenal and Leeds were clear that year, and we finished 3rd and won the League Cup. So we do finish top 4 and win a trophy, and have done in our history. Only that's it. 3 years out of 50. So we're not a league team. I'd like us to be a league team. I think that's based on, you look at the clubs around Europe, and the top clubs, albeit historical as well. The top clubs are normally the richest clubs and the financially strongest clubs. And out of all the top clubs in Europe, I think our record is probably the worst equated to how strong we are financially. All the others win their leagues regularly. We don't. I know the Premier League's tough, but we don't seem to maximise and potentialise this club and what it could be. I think it is a big club, Sean. It's a very big club. It's not an elite club because we don't have the trophies, like the other elite clubs.
There's a reason for that.
We don't compare with them, but I feel that we should be doing better in terms of the haul of trophies that we're getting, and hopefully this year's the start.
Well, yeah, I hope so too, mate. I was so excited after what happened 2 weeks ago, but right now I'm so furious with the club, and I'm even furious with myself for spending the last hour and a half debating with you about someone that I actually hate right now. It's like, you know, when like you've had a row with your girlfriend, you know, and you're going out for dinner, and you just can't stand her, and then some geezer makes a pass at her, and even though you can't stand her, you actually have to defend her honor because you know she's your girl. Well, like Levy's my chairman, so
I actually think so. The reason for your really being pissed off with him this week, I think he's done the right thing. I think he's gone away, but I think he's got to make a decision this week. But I think to go away from the emotion of Bilbao on the parade, if you're going to make a big decision, you've got to do it in the cold light of day, and you can't make a decision based on emotion. So I think he's done on this occasion. I think he's done the right thing. And
well, I think the decision should have been made long before the parade. I think that the decision should have been executed at some point this week, but the decision should have been made. And the fact that he's had to wait this long tells me that emotion has entered the room, and that's problematic for me because you shouldn't make. I agree with you. You shouldn't make any decisions based on emotion, but the fact that he's waited this long tells me. I think, unless it's something else about up here, if it's not, then I think that emotion has entered his thought process, and I think that's really concerning.
I think that's going on as well. I think the fact also, Sean, that Rothschilds couldn't get any investment for them for a year. I think, you know, Lewis is looking at that as well. You know, I think the Lewis family want out as well. I've been told that hasn't happened, and there hasn't been. I don't think there's been a shortage of potential investors coming through the door over the last few years. Nothing's ever transpired. So I think that's why Lewis has put his man on the board.
Yeah. Maybe because Daniel Levy's sabotaging, he's poisoning the punch. You know,
I don't know that. Maybe Lewis thinks that. Maybe that's why he's put him on the board. I don't know.
I think there's some truth to it, mate. I put out an argument on this if you're still watching, there's still 650 people here. By the way, I apologize, guys, because I've done my best to not be a drunken fool for the last year and a half on stream. But tonight I've had five ciders, and I can hear myself slurring my own words, which is like a sign that you should stop. So I'm gonna round off here, but Sean belting out Teemu Levy all over the live. Apologies. Madge Dret, thank you, mate. And Dan's come in for a last one. Lubo, we could end up with a Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You don't know what you get if Levy goes. It's easy to say Levy out, but you don't know his replacement. Really, really great question or statement. What do you want to say to?
You do, but if a person's in a bad marriage, do they stay in that bad marriage because they don't know what's going to happen in the future? I use that analogy. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If there are people. Let's look at it with a glass half full attitude rather than glass half empty. We all want Spurs to be more successful than we've been. Take a risk. If you don't take a risk in life, if you just want to play it safe, the worst two words that someone once said to me, the worst two words, you're lying on your deathbed, you don't want to say what if. Try and do it. If you fail, you fail, but at least have a go.
Yeah.
So,
I hear you, mate. I hear you. Mate, Ian, we're going to round off there, buddy. About time, mate. It's 12:30. I've got to be up at 5 o'clock for Bugsy. And, mate, thank you for coming on. Anyone at Lubo_61 if you want to find Ian. But what else? What's on your calendar, mate, for the next couple of days? You doing anything the rest of the week?
No, nothing. I've had 6 out of 7 nights, I think, on podcast.
Oh, the wife's back. Is the wife back tomorrow, is she?
No, she's back. She got back last night.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Last night, and no yellow card tonight.
Love it, mate. Love it. All right, guys. That's what I'm saying. Massive thank you to everyone for tuning in. It's been a long show, fucking nearly 4 hours. Thank you for everyone for the super chats. Thank you for sticking by. Like I say, apologies if I've got a little bit slurry in the last couple of hours, but the alcohol has an impact. But it's been fun, and I'll see you bright and early for another walkies. And then I'm doing a show tomorrow night with Sava on here at 5:30, I think it is. So you might not get as much content tomorrow because I'm out with my dad for lunch for an early Father's Day. But I will see you guys then anyway. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you, mate. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye, guys.